Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Ball Don't Lie. It's your boy Hardball Harge. I'm sitting in, getting ready for my man Rob Babers, who is on the way to Houston. Actually, he should be in Houston, taking a day off, well-deserved. But my man Patrick Davis is still behind the glass, and we got a special guest sitting in with us today. But let's get into what we're going to be talking about. We're going to preview the Texas Longhorns as they host the Baylor Bears. We're going to talk about the college football power rankings, and it's not even power rankings anymore. ESPN is hating on TCU as usual. We got a flex. We're going to talk about the high school sports and what's going to be going on with that this weekend. The playoff picture is right upon us. We're also going to talk to the Dripping Springs volleyball coach, Michael Kane, in the Hard Knocks life. We got a bunch of off the records for you that are going to be pretty interesting. We got to also talk about the fact that Michigan State has been charged with some brawling. I got to get my man across from me his thoughts on that. We're going to talk about the Thanksgiving games, the Dallas Cowboys as they take on the Giants of New York. But we got a lot to get into. But before we get into all of that, let me talk about my man behind the glass. It is the hardest working man in the ARN family. As my man Rob Babers always loves to say, we don't know what he's paid, but he's underpaid. It's one Patrick Davis. Pete, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. Getting ready to celebrate the holidays. Going to be exciting. And I'll let everybody know, it is normally midweek movie music. I've called an audible.
Oh.
We're going to play some local bands that are going to be playing part of a benefit that I'm part of on Sunday.
Okay.
I had a movie picked out, but the music it's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to get. So I said, let's just scrap it and play some local music.
Okay, so we don't have to break down the specs text line.
We don't have to hide
time.
it from the text
We
line.
don't have to hide it anymore.
Good.
We can go right into it. But let me talk about the man that's sitting across from me today. Sitting in for the lifetime Longhorn Rob Babers is a man that needs no introduction. He's the pride of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He's a former wide receiver with the Boston College football team. He's a former running backs coach for the Texas Longhorns who infamously forgot to get Ricky Williams his 1,000 yards. You hear him every day on these airways from 6 to 10. He is one half of the longest-running morning show, B&E. He is one Bucky Godbolt.
Thank you, Michael.
What's up, OG? How you doing, sir?
Just, me, just getting up from a nap like the olds do in the mid-afternoon. Take a little nap and then get up and get ready to go, man. I appreciate you having me today. It's always a pleasure being with you and Patrick, and I know Rod is hanging out with his family, and good thing because he's got to get right back up very early on Friday and get it cranking up for the pregame show.
That's right.
You all do.
We all got to get it going. But I've been wanting to talk to you about this for quite some time. You've been around the game for a very, very long time. You've coached some great running backs going back to your days at Illinois. You played with some great NFL running backs at Boston College, and, of course, with the work that you did at the University of Texas. But I wanted to ask you this. There's been so much talk about Bijan Robinson and that running back room, but more importantly, Bijan Robinson. And one of the biggest things that I've been talking about is the shelf life of a running back, especially in today's game. They don't look at them and they don't value them as much as they probably should. And everybody on the Specs text line has always been trying to say, bring him back for one more year. Bijan Robinson does not need to come back to the University of Texas, does he?
Only if he feels the need to break a bunch of records, make a bunch of more money, and the college life, you got hard's not life. Just think about
Exactly.
this. Life on a campus like the University of Texas in a city like Austin, and you driving that car and making that kind of money, life is good. Life is good when you're a college student. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
If you ain't got no money and you live in Austin, that's not all that good. But if you got money and a Lamborghini and you're cruising and you're a football player in this town, why not? I mean, Ricky came back. Ricky could have made all kinds. Remember, Ricky?
Yep. He was
folks
playing
don't realize.
baseball.
People don't understand. Ricky was making money before he walked in here.
Yep.
He had money. He had money from the Philadelphia Phillies. He wasn't on a scholarship. Philadelphia Phillies paid for Ricky's scholarship. So the university, when people say, well, give him the money, let him pay for the scholarship. Well, Ricky paid for his scholarship, or the Phillies paid for his scholarship.
The Phillies paid for his scholarship.
But he had money. He had cars. He had all of that. But for Bijan, do you want to take another hit? What is it that you want to do? I mean, it's just football players don't realize that that next step could be your last step. They talk about it. We all talk about it, about that next hit could be your last hit. But when you're a kid, you don't think about that. You just think about playing the game. You don't ever think about somebody taking your knee out. You just think about, this is the game I grew up playing. It's no big deal. If I sprain an ankle, I bounce back. You don't think about, if somebody takes the knee out, I may never be the same again. You just play.
Right.
But if you have that kind of attitude, that mentality that you want to come back and be the guy. I mean, he's in the top 4 or 5 running backs in the history of the school. That guy comes back, he's about to rewrite a bunch of records if he came back.
Right. And he'll still do it in 4 years because this is truly his junior year.
Correct.
He could actually stay here for 2 years, right? Because he would have that and he would have his COVID year.
Sure, but if I'm his dad, he said, "Dad, I want to move on." I wouldn't argue with him 1 second about saying, "Go ahead and get to your career." Right. You're not coming to school here to be a doctor. You're not going to be a surgeon. That's not why you came here. You came here to get a nice degree. You're going to make some money at Texas because of NIL. You're going to meet a lot of good people. But your employees is the NFL.
Right.
So get to them as quick as you can get it. Get on your second contract. Don't be hanging around. It's not about your first one. It's about that next contract.
Right.
But if you love your university, which this seems like that kind of kid, that's why I'm the one who kept saying, this kid may come back. Ricky loved to be around Austin, Texas. He loved school. He just, I mean, it took him till he's like 38 to graduate, but he did graduate. But he never came.
Right.
But he never said he was coming here. When he and I had a talk, he said, "I'm coming here to win the Heisman Trophy." And I said, "That's cool." He never said, "I'm coming to Texas to graduate." That was never a part of it. He did graduate, which is a big deal.
Right.
And it took him a while to graduate, but he never. And there was not one time that he said, "I'm coming to be a graduate of the University of Texas." I'm like, cool. He came and he told me, he said, "I'm coming to win the Heisman Trophy." I'm like, well, that's good.
Right.
Because if you win, we win.
We win. That's right. That means you've done something.
Yeah, but for Bijan, that's up to him. That's if he wants to break records and to be a part of history. I mean, if he knows the history of running backs at Texas, he may decide to do just that. But I ain't going to be mad at him if he decides to go on with his, the money that he makes in NIL is nothing compared to what he's going to make outside.
Correct.
The Bijan mustard and all that stuff. Once he gets, and that smile and that good kid right there, that kid will go make money all over the place in the NFL. You can't tell him not to do that, and you can't be mad at him because he decides to do it. But don't be surprised if he did come back. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because he seems like that kind of kid that enjoys this town.
Being around here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
as I said, when you got money,
interesting.
if you got money and you're here, that's different. If you ain't got any money,
correct,
and you're hanging around, your friends got money, and all your boys around the team got money. You got no money. It's not same hangout.
Yeah. Yeah, that is.
It's a different.
That is a definite different type of perspective, and I didn't even think about it that way. What I thought about is a guy that is in the running back position that has an opportunity to go to the NFL, will probably more than likely be the first running back off the board, which puts you in that position to start your clock in the NFL.
Sure.
And you know as well as I do, when you start looking at how the NFL works, it's a 2-back system now. And he won't have to take that much of a pounding like you would if it was back in the olden days where there was just one back. And he can do everything. He can be used as a wide receiver. He can be used as a blocker because his blocking has gotten a lot better this year.
Certainly has.
And I know that you pay a lot of attention to that, and I've heard you talk about that. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing for him. So what he's shown is an increased value to a position that has lost value.
Well, he's not 180. That guy's 225 pounds.
Exactly. He's
ain't
thick.
No little kid. He's a big old dude.
Yeah.
And he can stop you. And I mean, he's muscular. He's incredibly flexible. We've seen that before.
Yep.
Where he almost, he landed on his head that one year.
Scorpion pose.
Yeah, he was scorpion on that thing.
I mean,
right
it's incredible
flexibility is unbelievable.
But it's just a matter of what he wants and how much he values his body and all that stuff. And you can talk about the NFL, there's just people that like to be a part of history.
Yep.
And this is, like I said, there are two places I always want to be the running back coach at. I got my wish by coming to Texas. It was USC. I wanted to be the running back coach at USC or the University of Texas. I just so happened to get to this place, and that made it for me. I mean, and for this kid to be a running back at Texas with an opportunity to break all kinds of records, if he came back, I mean, don't call a kid an idiot. I mean, don't be surprised. But if he decides that the best thing for him, plus he's got a lot of intelligent people around him,
right,
that are part of his group. His family, his aunt, NIL people that are around him, they're going to do what's best for him. They'll do whatever he does is going to be the best for him. But kids don't worry about the injury thing. I've been playing this game forever. I just been playing this. Basketball players,
right?
They don't know when they go down to the park or to the rec that there's a possibility of them stepping on somebody's foot and tearing their knee apart.
Or some dude out there that wants to,
sure.
I'm better than you, and wants to go out there and be too physical against you during that time. So I get that. And that's why I wanted to ask you that, because you've been around that position and you've seen a bunch of guys that have gone on to play in the NFL. But this is a unique situation. This is a unique type of player. You obviously have been around Ricky Williams, who everybody knows how he's got a statue. Let's just put it like that.
Right.
He's got a statue out there. Do you see Bijan Robinson as someone that should warrant a statue at the University of Texas? I know that
not
they
in this
only
offense.
I figured that's where.
Not in this offense, you're not.
I didn't mean to set you up like that.
Oh, that wasn't even going to be a sub. I would have said it anyway. Not in this offense. Not if in one of your most important games you get 29 yards and only carry the ball a number of times.
Right.
No, this guy is explosive. I mean, he's lightning in a bottle. So you give it to him. I don't care if it's 34 times. Give it to him 36 times, because those next two you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right. He has that ability to pop one deep, as you know, and people have talked about. He's on he's a semifinalist for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, but he's also a semifinalist for the Doak Walker and the Walter Camp Award. He is 6th in the nation in rushing with 1,401 yards, and he's 5th in all-purpose yards, averaging 155 yards and 155.91 yards per game. He ranks 4th nationally with 18 touchdowns. 5th in rushing touchdowns with 16. He's got 18 total touchdowns. 7th in total points. 8th in rushing yards per game with 127, and scoring at 9.8 yards per game. He has 8 100-yard rushing games in the last 9 outings.
Yeah,
what more can he do?
He's
got to do more this week.
Yeah,
he's definitely going to have to do
the coach has to do more to make sure he gets more.
Right.
That's what that has to be. But I mean, here's a young guy that's, he's just getting kind of used to what he has on the offensive line. Ricky ran behind some pretty good offensive linemen.
Absolutely, he did.
Oh, my goodness. Yep. Brockemeyer and guys like
Dan Neal. Yep.
And we ran different things to set him up, to make him, to help him have success, and along with Priest Holmes, because Bijan reminds me an awful lot of the kid I had at Boston College named Troy Stratford that played for the Miami Dolphins. He's got that elusiveness, and he's got the kind of the power of Ricky, and he's got that body type like Priest Holmes too. He's just an all-around guy that, and people, somebody will say, well, he can't carry that many times. Yeah, he can. That's a young dude. That dude can carry it 36, 37 times if need be. And plus, you have to win the football games, and if that's your star has to be a part of that. I don't know in this type of offense what it's about. This type of offense to me looks like it's about the quarterback.
Right.
Right.
And I think we all
Sark
know that.
Sark is a good play caller. Lincoln Riley is a great play caller.
There's a big difference in that,
to me,
right?
Yeah, there is.
There's a big difference in that, right?
When you see guys wide ass open with Lincoln Riley, I mean, wide, like, how did that guy
I've been
get
saying
wide
that
open?
for years, Buck. I'm like, those Oklahoma teams, you sit there and you're like, how is that guy that wide open where there's nobody around
That's
him?
that coach making that guy wide open. That's him drawing up on the defense. We've got to throw bombs and hope that the guys that are trying to catch them bombs can actually catch them when they hit their hands. It's a little bit different. This is an offense that if you're around here long enough over the next couple of years, and this offensive line really gets to be strong, physical, and real nasty, you'd love to be a running back in this, because you're not those guys. Bijan Robinson and Ricky Williams and guys like Earl Campbell, those guys come around every 20-some years.
Yep.
You may have the best running back in the nation coming here next year from Florida. But I'll tell you this right now. Look at him he's not Bijan.
Right.
Those guys, you got a whole the kid last week had a nice game for 100 yards. He's not Bijan. Those guys aren't him.
Right.
Those are nice football players that play running back. They're not that guy.
Right.
You've had that guy for 4 years.
Yep.
What have you done with that guy?
Right.
What did the rest of them do with him? When you have those guys, your program is supposed to win championships. You're supposed to at least win a Big 12 championship. When you have those kind of guys, you're supposed to win championships with those guys. That's not on him. That's on you.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about, we talked about the other day about the top running backs in Texas history, and that's an elite list.
That's an
and when you can
elite
put him
list.
up on that list with some other guys like Ricky and Earl, and you'd be like, oh no, he's up there with them. That's not a, hey man, this is when you're saying
A
Jamal
decent
Charles,
back, yeah.
when you're
Right.
talking about a guy like Jamal
Cedric
Charles, you're like,
Benson,
oh, Cedric
yeah.
Benson, you're like, oh no, he may be above those guys. Then yeah, that's not on him
That's not
if he's
a
that
normal
level.
list. That's right. And that's the other thing too, Buck. I mean, you just brought that up because we're all looking at next year because we all assume that he's going to be gone. Let's just say Bijan Robinson is no longer at the University of Texas. If he comes back, that's a luxury. You got
Yes.
lucky. You got lucky that he decided. That we talked about it yesterday. Mac's best recruiting job was to get Ricky back at the
Absolutely.
University of Texas. So with that being said, say Bijan is gone. Who is the next back that is going to take that big step? Jonathan Brooks looks great to me, but he's not Bijan, and
No.
I respect that. But the way that he runs at that position, he looks like that he is made to be a running back in this program, which is why he's here. We all talked about Jaden Blue before he got here.
So next
He
year
looks
it's going to be
good.
about throwing the ball. It's either going to be a freshman throwing the ball, or Quinn Ewers is going to he's going to be forced to mature, or he won't be the quarterback.
He needs to mature a lot. I agree with that.
If he matures enough and he's got the skill set to do it, they'll be throwing the ball. The running back room will be just somebody that gets 800 yards or 700 yards. Or
That is
maybe one year's
crazy
12.
to me.
I know.
That
but-
is crazy, especially with that offensive line that you are developing right now with all those young players that look like they are going to be road graders because they can push and they got that kind of power, and you have so much depth at that offensive line. But you're going to try to throw the ball the entire time, you believe?
Well, one thing you'll have to do is you'll have to go out and you got to hope that Jordan Whittington decides that he's going to come back here for another year. And remember, I think the thing that really hurt this team is Nayor when he went
Yep,
out.
yep.
But once again, for me with Sark is, he talked about how he loved Jordan Whittington, but he didn't give him the ball. I mean, when he first got here, I loved Jordan Whittington. He's that guy. Well, Jordan Whittington had been hurt forever,
Right.
so you get him on a year when he's not hurt,
And you underutilize
and you
him.
underutilize him.
Yep.
I'm thinking,
I
wait a
agree.
minute, you love this guy so much.
I agree.
I mean, in spring ball, but now that he's fully healthy, you don't utilize him. You talk about how great he is and what a great kid and how he catches the ball, but you don't use him. And now you've got one of the best runners, possibly one of the best runners in the history of the school, and he's getting 29 yards in a football game.
Yeah.
I'd be damned if I'd let that happen. I'd be in my coaches. I'd be the running back coach. I'd be in somebody's ear about, he only has 29 yards.
Right.
He only has, coach, he got 12 carries. Are we serious here?
So how do you project the rest of this week? Let's just say on Friday we go out there. What is a good round number that you think needs to be used for Texas to have success against this running defense, this rush defense of Baylor? Because Baylor is one of the – we talked about them at the very beginning of the year.
They got some roughnecks.
The trenches was where we thought they were going to win on both sides of the ball. Now, the quarterback position hadn't played as well as everyone thought he was going to be. And I wonder if Dave Aranda is like, man, should I have kept Jerry Bohannon?
Coach Aranda is going to push his 240-pound running back and his other freshman at Texas line. And if Texas holds up the way they held up to TCU, that'll be fantastic. But just because that's happening, you still got to press your running game at them too.
Right.
And I believe Sark will do that. It's not going to be it's going to be a run game kind of day
because
on Friday.
of the weather anyway,
yeah.
right? This is the time that you lean on your running back. And this may be the last time that you have him at this university because would you consider
Dude, if that dude had 12 carries, this whole stadium would go in an uproar on
goodness.
Friday. You got to be kidding.
I don't
man,
think that's
I
happening
appreciate
again.
I want it to be windy. I want
I
to
do
be
too.
everything that made Sark run the ball last week. Everything he said that made him want to run the ball.
Cold.
Do that again this week, Weather. Let him,
Yeah,
hey man, I
exactly.
guess we
Make
got
him
it.
do
Guess we
that.
got to run it.
But in the other vein, I'll just say this. I grew up in football where 9-man fronts didn't matter when we ran counter plays at Texas with Ricky or Priest or Sean Mitchell or any of them that have played here. Butch Hadnot, you name it. It didn't matter if you got up in the 9-man front. You didn't care because if one guy missed, it was see ya. And I'd count on the running back to make a guy unblocked miss. But in this day and age, if 9-man fronts come up or 8-man fronts, you got to throw the ball. You got one-on-ones.
Yep.
This is where your genius is supposed to come in and get somebody open. And the open guy has to catch the ball.
He has to make sure he catches
I mean, they
the
got
ball.
a brand new
That's
wide
right.
receiver coach here that was supposed to be all that. These dudes can't catch.
Right.
They're talking about him calling plays. How about getting your guys to do their scholarship job and catch a ball that hits them in the hands? Xavier Worthy has gotten worse than he's gotten better.
It does seem like he's kind of fallen off the trajectory that he was on, especially when you start looking at the fact that he's not receiving the ball well.
Well, I know this. He is dynamite in the scoring zone because nobody cuts off
The
a route and
routes,
makes a corner route or a zigzag like that guy does. But when it comes to out in the open field, the basics, man, and that may be a sign of that 160 pounds or 155 that he is. When you start going across the middle, and your hands start thinking about, the rest of me is only so much. These hands may be big and strong, but I mean I've been waiting for
Did
him
you think like that when you were going across the middle?
No,
back in the day?
Dude, I wouldn't played. That's the only thing I had because I wasn't fast. If I didn't catch it, that was my job. That's how I got a scholarship. I just got a scholarship because I could catch the ball.
Right.
That was my job. Your job is to catch the ball. Care if you catch the damn ball and fall down. I coach punt returners, and throughout
Does
my
he
college
scare
career,
you on punt return?
he always scares me because I think somebody's going to light him up just to get the 15 yards. And sometimes it goes down to his knees and he picks it and goes. And plus, that's the last time I took a star and put him on a special teams was I put Troy Stratford, who was Rookie of the Year, great player at Boston College. I put him as my kickoff returner because I did kickoff returns and punt returns. I made him the kicker. First game of the year, they lit him up on a kickoff return. And the head coach just turned around and looked over at me, and I'm like, yeah. yeah.
You have to make a move on him.
But I also had a kid named Kelvin Martin that was a wide receiver.
I remember him. He played for the Cowboys.
Yeah, he did. He was a great wide receiver
with
the
the Cowboys.
Yeah, but he was a punt returner. He was a starter, and he was fantastic. I mean, that's how he got to play with the Cowboys. It was his punt returning abilities and stuff. So your job as the coach is, and like you say, that 10 yards, because now even Ricky still messes with me about the 10 yards. He didn't even know. But
everybody talks about it.
But everybody talks about that 10
Yeah.
yards. If he'd got 10 yards, he would have had 4,000 years of rushing. And I said, that's not my job. My job is not to worry about his stats. My job is to find ways to win football games.
Win the ball game.
And that's the same for Sark. No matter what we talk about Bijan or Ricky or anybody else, it's about this football program at Texas.
Right.
It's not about the individuals at Texas. It's about the football team. And his job as a head coach is to win the games. It's not to give faith to Quentin Ewers about his future
worry about his emotional
or worry
state.
about how good the young left tackle is and look at him pass protect. Do you see how he can pass? His job is to win football games.
Right.
And you do everything you can to win games. That's his job. His
agree.
job is not to worry about stats. His job is to if that guy won 10 games and they were all ugly, who would say anything? Nobody. Not a thing.
Nobody. And that's the thing. I heard you and E talking about it. You can hear them Monday through Friday, 6 to 10, right here on 104.9 B&E, the longest running morning show around this town, definitely sports. But I sit there and I think about it all the time about what if. What if? I heard the question asked to you today, and you said the game that got away from you that is stinging to you the most is what?
Is that Texas Tech game.
And I'm thinking the Oklahoma State game because of the fact that they were up by so many points, and they just kept throwing instead of lean on the guy in the backfield that we have been talking about this whole first segment.
Yeah, and after all of that, Mike, here's the thing. And the thing about that, you then had the opportunity with the number 4 team in the nation in front of you right here with an opportunity to still go to the Big 12 championship.
Yep.
You had them right here on your own turf in front of a monster crowd.
Monster. Biggest day ever.
Low-scoring game. You had the opportunity. You just needed to pull the trigger one time on something that worked, Coach. That's all.
That's it.
And your job was to win the game. It wasn't to not give a kid. I don't care. If you'd have got 12 carries and you'd have won the football game, nobody would have said anything about 12 carries.
Nobody would have said anything.
I wouldn't even say anything about Bijan Robinson. He only got 12 carries for 29 yards. I would have never said a word. I said, you won the game. Your job is to win football games as the head coach. Win ugly, win smart, but win.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. We're going to continue this conversation, especially because of the fact that there's so much to unroll from this running back position. What's next for the University of Texas? The positions of of need for next year, but I also want to talk to my man Bucky Gabo, who's sitting in for Rob Babers. We're going to talk about the college football playoff rankings and why is ESPN doing so much to hate on the University of Texas. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. We did a switch up. We normally do the midweek music theme, but we decided, midweek movie music theme, but we decided to switch it up today and do a 5-1-2 edition of a Wednesday Ball Don't Lie. And my man Patrick Davis always gives us the lowdown on the local artists that will be playing in town. Patrick, who is this and where will they be playing?
So this is the fun part. So are this the heebie-jeebies? Have been around since the 90s.
Give me the heebie-jeebies.
The heebie-jeebies. My man, 80 Hernandez, has been an awesome part of this scene for a long time. He had to have some heart surgery this year, was down and out. He's still kind of recovering from it. So they're throwing a big benefit for 80. A bunch of good bands are going to be playing throughout the day. It's happening Sunday at the Rail House in Kyle, but it's going to be going on all day on Sunday. I'll be out there enjoying it. But 80 is a great guy. Anytime I threw a show, he'd always be one of the first people to hit me up and be like, yeah, man, you need anything from me? Let me know. I'll come up and jam. I'll come up and I'll bring my band. We'll do it all.
Nice.
So we're throwing we're doing a benefit for him on Sunday.
Got a little Tower of Power flavor.
You like that? Oh, look at Bucky giving us some of that Tower of Power. That's
Oakland,
right,
California.
folks. That's right, folks. Our man Rob Babers is taking an extra day. He'll be back on Friday as we will be on Bevo Boulevard starting at 7 a.m. Myself, E. Hogan, and, of course, Rob Babers will be there with us. So we gave him an extra day. And guess who's sitting in? The man, the Buckster. Bucky Godbolt is sitting in with me. Thank you, Bucky, so much for
it's
sitting in
good
with
talking
me.
football with you. It's always a pleasure, man.
I love
really
it.
is.
I love it. I love it. And I want to continue the conversation. We'll get back on the Bijan and what's next for the University of Texas, but most importantly, they have to take on the Baylor Bears Friday morning, 11 a.m. kickoff. The weather is supposed to be a little rough. I feel like, seems like these last couple of weeks has been, we think we're going to have good weather, and then all of a sudden it starts freezing us out. But this week we're probably going to have some rain. But last night, the college football rankings came out, and the Texas Longhorns came in the rankings at number 23. So they were in the top 25 after their 55-14 road win at Kansas. It was the first time the Longhorns topped Kansas by 41 points, the program's largest margin of victory on the road since defeating Iowa State in Ames in 2007. But, Buck, the story has always been the top four teams, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's trying to find their position on where they're going to be. So right now you got Georgia at number 1 at 11-0, Ohio State 11-0 at number 2, Michigan at 11-0 at number 3, TCU, the Horned Frogs are 11-0 at number 4, but everybody's talking about number 5, LSU at 9-2, and of course USC representing the Pac-12 at 10-1.
Yeah, I thought USC would end up being number 5, but I was wrong. They're trying their best to get 2 SEC teams in there.
They're just load all of them up at front.
Sure,
so
they do.
At least 2 can get in.
Well,
that drives me nuts.
But LSU would have to beat Georgia in the championship game because. And Georgia's not going anywhere. If they lose a game, they're still in.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
The defending champions who are undefeated. I mean, I don't know how many games straight it is, but it's two straight years of undefeated football. And if they lose in a championship game, they're not going out past 4. They're still playing in that championship game. So LSU will probably, of course, they're the hot commodity right now. So they'll move up and they'll say screw it, the Pac-12 and see you later, TCU. All TCU has to do is win.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't think they're. I mean, there's a lot of injustices out there, but I don't think they'll put the Scrooges at TCU if they win the Big 12 championship. If they beat Iowa State and go in and win the Big 12 championship and are 12-0 or 13-0, what are they going to do? They're not going to pull them out.
You can't, and that's the thing that drives me the craziest because when you start looking at it, we're gonna have Michigan playing Ohio State this weekend at the Shoe in Ohio State.
That's gone.
The loser should be gone.
Yeah,
because everybody's been talking about, they haven't played anybody. Who is their strength of schedule? And you start looking at it, it's like, why should they be in the conversation?
If you look at their strength of schedule, it's better than anybody that they've got going on. I believe now it says that ESPN has it that it's better than Georgia's. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, because Michigan doesn't have any strength of schedule.
No.
And that's the thing is Michigan's out if Ohio State wins. But they're still saying Ohio State, they're going to try and stick them in there even if Michigan beats them because they want Ohio State in it.
I personally would love to have Ohio State in the conversation just because each year you look at them, they've been the most consistent when you start looking at all the teams that are in there. They are always in the conversation.
But if they're fair, it's week by week, isn't it?
It should be like that, Buck. I agree with you 100%. And that's why you start looking at Notre Dame and USC plays this weekend. If USC beats Notre Dame, who a lot of people were looking at Notre Dame early, including myself, I was wondering if Marcus Freeman was going to be able to handle the job and stick around. He's turned that thing around. He's done well. And then you look at this weekend, they still believe in Clemson for some reason.
Because
Clemson's hanging.
Because they're named.
They're hanging around. But
do I hear conspiracy theorists about TCU being a Christian school? They don't want any part of that. I mean, that always seems to come up, and I'm saying I hope not.
Why would they do
Why
that?
would you? Right. I mean, Dabo seems like he's pretty Christian.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most Christian out there. He tries to at least tell us that in the way that he acts. But I sit there and I always try to figure out, and I've talked about this forever, if you're going to have a Power 5, why is it that number one, we only have 4 teams that are in it? That makes zero sense to me. And then the other part of it is, why do you believe that 2 teams from the SEC deserve to be in it if their record does not warrant it? I'm looking at Alabama right now. They've talked the entire time that TCU hasn't played well and they haven't controlled the games, right? They keep saying, oh, they're not a team that deserves to be in it because they've had to come from behind to win the games. Don't you play to win the game?
Yeah, I mean,
option?
This is about name recognition. If Texas won every game by 1 point, they would be in.
They would be the runaway. That's why Oklahoma got in for so many years. Because they were always in the mix.
Yeah, I just think Sonny Dykes has done such a great job up there. If they go undefeated, I don't see them pulling them out. Didn't they do the old switcheroo when Baylor TCU a couple years ago?
Yes.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to be caught up in that madness again.
You shouldn't be.
They don't want that kind of thing to happen in college football.
And that's the thing that continues to drive me nuts when I look at how this all plays out and what the story is supposed to be. Here it is. We're trying to create this madness of the college football playoffs. That is why I'm a firm believer that we need to have a 12-team playoff. There's no doubt about that. I think that is the way that this should go because these are the arguments that we continue to have. There's no reason for a team that is undefeated from a Power 5 school that is in the mix. They should be in there. They should always be in the conversation.
And I think it'll play out. I think it'll just play itself out, and TCU is not going to get screwed. And whether, I know what people will say. They say, well, why does Georgia belong in there if they lose a game like LSU, the championship game? Well, that group's been sitting at number 1 for a
very long time.
It's almost 2 years. They've been 1 or 2.
And they've embarrassed people that came out. Oh, yeah. I'm fine with Georgia staying. Like that's the one team I'm okay with. Of like, look, if LSU can beat you, it's clearly that it was just a one-day thing, and we'd want to see that match. You go, hey man, put them back together and play it again. Yeah, we think Georgia will kill them the second time. But yeah, I think it's great. I'm gonna bring up a separate point that I think is crazy about the top 6 teams. That the teams 4, 5, and 6 all have first-year head coaches.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other part of it too. So this is the most time that you sit and you look at all the teams that are in the playoffs, in the rankings, and you're right, Patrick. Georgia is a team that has been consistent. They're the reigning national champion. That's why I always thought Alabama was in the conversation. I always thought Alabama was always in the conversation because at the time they were the reigning champion. But now they are another team that we sit and we watch, and they're the ones that are always having a tough time winning their ball games.
Right.
And why is no one holding that against them?
Well, they're not getting in this one.
They better not.
No, they're not.
They're not getting in this one. This is the one that they're done.
No, the one that worries me the most is Ohio State, that people want that name recognition, that if Michigan beats them, and they're just not – they'll leave out the part that the Big Ten is having a down year.
Agreed.
And that Wisconsin was supposed to be good.
And Iowa was
supposed
on
to be
that side
good.
of the championship.
All these teams were supposed to be good. Nebraska's supposed to be back, all these things, and they're all awful. So I think that one scares me more. That they'll just go, oh, no, Ohio State, though, they won big. Like, yeah, they won big against nobody.
Right.
The Big 12's better than the Big 10 this year. Like, there's more competitive teams in it.
For sure.
At least. And so you can go, at least TCU had to play a gauntlet every week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just want you arguing about some of this stuff, but I just would hate to see TCU get screwed out of this deal if they go undefeated,
Now-
which I don't think is going to happen.
No, I mean we're still all on board that we're hoping that Kansas wins on Saturday, we win on Friday, and then we can go beat them in the Big 12 championship. That's the hope. But
Right.
but a couple things have to happen. We all got to root for the Jayhawks.
Yeah.
And that's going to be hard because Kansas State is going to look at that film and
All
see.
signs says
and
no way.
All signs say let's run it 70 times and beat them into the ground.
Yeah.
And if Texas put 55 on them, we're going to put 85 with Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
Because Deuce Vaughn is not coming out of the game for 4 quarters.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because we've seen it on film, and in this conference this year is probably one of the better conferences as far as from top to bottom.
Sure.
Except for, West Virginia hadn't been the best lately, but they've been fighting in every single game, and I believe that the Big 12 is a lot better than a lot of these other conferences besides the SEC. So if you're going to try to keep them out, I think that is wrong if they run the table. Don't go up there and have all that fodder where everybody's arguing, TCU, we don't know TCU. Well, that's your fault. Continue to look at TCU. That is the biggest thing for me. TCU wins out, they're in. There should not be any discussion
And
about
I still give Coach Patterson a lot of thanks for what he did for that TCU program. Those are his dudes.
Yeah, those are his dudes.
They just needed a different voice.
And they got it. And Sonny Dykes has taken over that thing. And no matter what the situation has been, they find a way to win the game. Bucky, what did you say at the very beginning, sir? Win the game.
That's your job.
Win the game.
Your job is not to be building future NFL players or worried about their skill set. Are we going to wear them out before they get to the NFL? Your job is to wear their ass out so you win the games.
Right.
That's your job.
That's your job. And that's why you play the game, right? Herm Edwards said it best. You play to win the game.
Yes, you do.
And people don't give you a hard time if you win. They may kind of criticize, I wish you would have did this, I wish you would have did that. But at the end of the day, they're looking in that left-hand column.
That's right.
And they want that number to be more than what's in that right-hand column. And that's all it takes. Well, I want to talk a little bit about this high school playoff situation. What man to talk to than my man Bucky Godbolt about the flex. And we'll be right back and talk a little bit of flex in high school sports right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to another edition of Ball Don't Lie. It's a 512 edition. My man Patrick called an audible because that's what he can do. That's why he is what he is right here at the Horn. He can make those adjustments. He's bringing us the 512 edition of it because he wants you to know where these local artists will be playing and letting you get a sample of what they do. Patrick, who is this and where will they be playing?
This is Dave Scher. He's going to be at that benefit for Eddie Hernandez Sunday out at the Rail House in Kyle.
Ooh, got that funk in this thing right here.
Oh, he's got a little good guitar player there,
I like
Dave
that.
Scher.
I like that. Buck, what you think about that? That's right in your
Oh,
wheelhouse.
I love that blues right
I know
there.
you do. It sounds good. But let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the Flex, brought to you by Brain Vault. And, Bucky, this is the week where you start to separate, right? This is separation week. Heading into Thanksgiving holiday week with 13 Central Texas Flex-covered teams are still playing. Friday, Westlake takes on San Benito at 2 p.m. at Alamo Stadium. The game you will be calling, Bucky, on Friday, Lake Travis versus Brennan, and they will be playing at Canyon High School in New Braunfels.
Right down the road.
6 p.m., and I'll get your take on that in just a minute. But Dripping Springs will be versus Harlingen at 11 a.m. at the Alamo Dome. Vandergrift versus Harlan at 7:30 at the Alamo Dome. Get a little doubleheader action down there. Georgetown versus College Station, 6 p.m. at Waco ISD Stadium. Liberty Hill versus Alamo Heights, 1:30, Bastrop Memorial Stadium. Lago Vista will take on Geronimo Navarro, 1:30 at Hutto Memorial Stadium. Wimberley versus Gerald. I can just hear our man Jeff Howe going crazy because Gerald's still in the playoffs. 6 p.m. at Gupton Stadium. Granger versus Fall City, 7 p.m. at Matador Stadium in Seguin. Llano versus Industrial, 7 p.m. at Hero Stadium in San Antonio. And Blanco versus Edna, 6 p.m. Ferris Stadium in San Antonio. Buck, you will be on the call with Mark Honing and, of course, sideline Stu Myrick. Myrick.
You can call him whatever you do. We call him all kinds of things.
I know y'all do. I've been listening to your broadcast. Y'all give each other the business for sure. But you're looking at Lake Travis and what they were able to do last week as they had the lead at halftime. By the way, you sounded like y'all were in the bathtub together.
We were. Man, the equipment went bad on us.
But y'all made it work because y'all are professionals.
We did that by phone.
No way.
It was on a phone speaker, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Great job.
Yeah, I mean, things just happen. I mean, it's an awful lot of fun. That was a fun game. I said 14 points will not be enough against this Steel team that,
They fought back.
Boy, they fought back sort of like Lake Travis fought back during the regular season but lost the game. Steel fought back and couldn't win. And, with the Cavaliers, it's been a weird season for them. They're used to winning, having one loss or no losses, or the Westlake game is the only game they lose during the course of the regular season. But this year was a little different. But one thing they are is they're playoff tested. They just have been for years and years and years. They're just used to going there. And they play those hard games, out of district play, going up to Arlington and playing those games in the beginning.
Big game early.
And they matter. Those are the games that matter. So their kids aren't worried about playoff kind of football. They're not nervous about it. And, they've gone through 3 different quarterbacks. They're wide receivers. And Nico is
wide receiver had to play quarterback at one point. Sam Sells.
Just been so many different guys. And I told you before we came back, I had never coached high school. I never coached a down in high school football, and that's a part of something I think I missed out on, not being able to do that. Whether it's good or bad that I missed out on it, but I never coached high school football. I went right from not
college,
making it in the pros to being a graduate assistant at Dartmouth, I was the 8th coach back at my alma mater at Boston College, where I was a wide receiver, but I never coached anything but running backs and punt returners and kickoff returners. Never coached defensive backs.
Never did anything else. You've always been a running back coach and a special teams coach.
I played as a running back when I came in as a freshman at Boston. That's when they had freshman teams.
Right.
The freshmen couldn't play on the varsity team, so we had to play. We had to play a bunch of Ivy Leagues, but I was a running back at that time, so I always wanted to be a running back coach. Never wanted to be a wide receiver coach.
Gotcha.
Couldn't stand wide receivers. They were the true divas.
Because you was a diva too, right?
Yeah, kind of. So I never wanted to coach that position. Coach said, "Would you like to coach some?" I said, "No, coach. Give me the running backs. Give me some of them roughnecks.
Right.
Some of those guys that you had to really develop, and that wide receiver stuff was Dude, that was Divasville right there.
Right.
There's nobody like those guys.
So I was at the game. The other day, the Lake Travis game, and that running back for Steele was something. The entire time I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what is Bucky thinking about this running back from Steele? I know that he had a couple offers like Utah State or something like that. What was your impression of him? And then in contrast, going to the other side of the ball, Nico Hamilton.
Well, Nico's got another year.
Yes.
I mean, Nico's going to be over 200 pounds.
Yeah, for
I'll
sure.
start with him. He's going to be over a 200-pound back, and he's a full 6 foot, and may end up being 6'1". He's tall compared to some of these running backs in this
Absolutely.
area. The 5'10", the 5'9", or the 5'7" guy right here at Westlake.
Right.
He's different. He's got a lot of body to hit. Some of these guys that are smaller guys, the 5'9s, the 5'10s, can get through that and get through sideways in some of these holes without taking a dead-on blow. Nico takes a lot of hits because he's not an upright
He's trying
runner.
to deliver the blow.
Yeah, he's going to have to learn. He'll learn how to get lower and lower as time, and he's done a great job of that all during the season. I mean, I look at and the same thing for the kid from Cibolo. He just on and on and on. There's some great running backs in this area that will fit offenses all over this country and all over this area. And everybody doesn't have to go to Texas or Notre Dame.
Right.
I mean, there's the Sun Belt. There's all kinds of football, throughout
You get an
University of Houston
opportunity to
that you can get an opportunity to play.
Yep.
And some of these running backs, I mean, I look at Jack Kaiser. It is that time. It's Jack Kaiser time now.
Yes.
Of the year. It's third
This
week
is
of the playoffs.
big money right here.
Yeah, because the weather gets a little funkier right
Yep,
now.
yep.
So you want to be able to run the ball and win your football games in that fourth quarter. You don't want to have drives where, okay, you run and you get 3 yards and you say, okay, I give up. That's it. Now we got to throw for 2 more downs. No, this is where Jack Kaiser can really, really hurt you at Westlake. You give him the ball and he gets 3. Don't be afraid to give him 2 more times. That guy, it's just 10 yards.
Yeah, he's gonna bust one too because he's that explosive.
And he's strong.
Right. And Nico had a couple runs that I thought he was gonna bust during that game too.
And don't underestimate that guy's speed. Nico can go. He's getting
to that next level now.
He's getting to that next level.
He's maturing into that position, and I know that he's starting to see things a little bit different because I've had conversations with him. And he's looking at the whole a little bit different than what he did.
And his
before.
offensive line has been playing really,
They've been
really
playing
well.
really good. And this
offensive
is the time
lines
of
in
the
this
year,
whole area
right?
have really, drip offensive line.
Vandegrift's,
Vandegrift's offensive line is fantastic. Wimberley's offensive line. Those teams, Wimberley's been good for years.
Correct.
It seems like probably the last 10 years, it looks like Wimberley, the Texans, they're like in a playoff every year.
Yeah, and they're
or going
deep
to a state
and
championship.
Deep.
Yeah,
they've been deep into it too.
So if you got those winning programs, and some are still building, I think Vandegrift is one of those teams that is still building their program.
Right.
Dripping just got there in a hurry. For some odd reason, they got there quickly. And if you got a quarterback like that, you can get there quickly.
Right, and that's the difference in the whole thing.
Oh.
By the way, Caden Leon had his birthday yesterday, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out to him, and he's matured quickly too. And I've been really impressed with the way that the Chaps have been going. But all the teams that continue to push during this time, it's a great time. I never got a chance to get to that point, but to play on Thanksgiving. I never got a chance to practice on Thanksgiving morning, but that would have been fun for me.
It's really weird.
Because you get a chance to play.
Different parts of the country, like, back east, Thanksgiving Day would be playoff games in the morning, and dinner, you'd be eating dinner in the afternoon.
And some of it would be a sad dinner.
Yeah,
some of you'd be
sad. High school kids going home to eat dinner.
Well,
Sorry about that. No.
Sorry about it. You're gonna have to cash that one in right there.
This is. I love this. I love this. I like this playoff system. I love the way it goes. I don't care if it goes to December 17th. That's fine with me.
That's right. That's a good time right there.
And the great day. And I go. I mean, I've been to the state championship games, even when Lake Travis didn't go. I just like going up to Arlington to spend the day at Jerry's World and just hang out.
That's
I bring
part
a
of
pillow
your
with
routine.
me.
That's right.
Bring a pillow with me and just hang out and watch all the games.
You and Sheriff Hamilton, he used to go up there and just spend the entire day,
no
matter
day.
who was there. And if you love Texas football, that's what it's all about. So make sure you go to flexatx.com, find out more details. You can find out more about what we're going to be doing starting next week. We're going to be announcing our all-flex team, the top 3, and we'll be moving on from there.
And we've done it, and I've been around to every part of the country and the way they play high school football. Nobody does it. Nobody does it like this. They just don't. I've been to Florida playoff games, Pennsylvania, Big 33, stuff like that. But nobody does it like they do it in this state. It is truly a family affair.
Yeah.
Everybody's involved, which is really cool. Mom and dad and grandma, brothers and sisters. I mean, it is a big deal here.
That's what it's all about, and I can't
Absolutely.
wait. And I'm from the state of Texas, and I love it. So continue to support these kids. Go to flexatx.com, and we'll be back right in the top of the hour, and we're going to preview Texas versus Baylor, and we're going to talk a little bit about Coach Sark and what we all expect. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to 512 Wednesday edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick Davis always bringing us the local artists that you can find right here in the 512. He'll let you know who they are and where they are performing. Patrick, who is this and where can they go check them out?
This is Ray Prim, and he is going to be playing part of that big benefit Sunday at the Rail House in Kyle.
There it is. Man, this is smooth too right here, Buck. This
It is.
reminds you of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
That
right
it
here?
does. The old folks' home.
No.
Right?
That ain't- that don't necess-
That's the stuff my mom would be playing on Sunday morning
Oh my goodness, mine too.
when
I
I'd be
can't
skipping
wait.
church.
My mom is in town, and I can't wait to go hang out with her so she can give me a hard time playing all this music right here. I
Oh,
just-
if you got your mama, that is special.
Yeah, man.
Mine's
It's-
been gone for a couple years now. I miss her so much.
and these are the times that you definitely
Oh.
miss her because of that.
Holidays.
This is the first time that my mom, both of my sisters, my nieces, and my nephews, I get to spend Thanksgiving with them all together for the first time in like
Yeah,
6 years.
that is awesome. My mother-in-law, my wife has gone to Idaho to see her mother. Her mother's 95 years old.
Okay.
And I would be making that trip, but somebody has to do the animals. That's my job this time. But she took her daughter and their 2-year-old, and I said, nah, I don't need to have anything to do with that 2-year-old right now. And plus, your mom is 95 and she still drives, and I don't want to have nothing to do
What?
with that. Oh yeah,
95 and still driving?
yeah, and she doesn't let you drive the car. She doesn't let you drive her car.
No way.
And I'm like, I'm not going to be deceased over the holidays in the back seat with your mom. I said, I've been in a car with her,
Oh, my
and she makes those
goodness.
wide old people turns, those wide ones. Like she's in the other lane to make a turn.
She's swerving
Oh.
through the lane,
Dude,
Wait,
swanging that
so
thing.
is she the old that drives 90 or the old that drives 20?
She's the one old that drives 20.
Okay.
Up there in Livingston, Idaho, and where they drive around is the Columbia River ain't but so far for the car to trip over and go into the Columbia River. I'm like, no. I'm
Someone
like,
to nudge her off when she's in the way. It's like, come on, I got space to be.
Come on, move.
I've only been there a couple times since when I got married to my wife, but every time her mom says, she's one of those talkers. Like if you're driving, telling you how to get to places, like you never drove a car before yourself. But when she's driving, dude, it is like I'm sitting in the back and I'm going, let me just stay at the house. Why don't y'all this is your town.
Right.
You got your hand on that handle the whole time?
Oh man. But she's loving life. She's doing good at 95.
That's awesome. As fact that she's still driving. It may be 20, but she's driving 20 miles an hour, Buck, but it's freezing up in Idaho, so she probably needs to drive 20
No, she
miles
don't need
an
to drive. She's more suited to walk where she needs to go.
I dig that.
You've been there. You've been to Idaho.
I've been to Idaho quite a few times, and it's not popular with the brothers. And I
Livingston is
believe that's
beauty.
where Rod's wife is from.
She's from
that
Idaho,
area
too, yeah.
she's from that area too. But let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit of this Texas preview as they take on the Baylor Bears Friday at 11 a.m. kickoff. Senior Day. Buck, you've been a part of these senior days as a
Yes.
player, and you've also been a part of it as a coach. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
I lost
But-
as a player.
Lots as a player.
I lost that my senior
You
days
lost
as a player.
that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I never forget that. That's an awful feeling. Your last college game, you know,
Right.
at home.
There is no tomorrow, Buck.
No tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow. So let's talk about that a little bit because I look at this game as the Texas Longhorns take on the Baylor Bears. And at the very beginning of the season, we all were talking about the trenches for Baylor. Where they were going to be strong at was going to be in the trenches. That was going to be the biggest part of their success as they go. As both lines go, is what Baylor's going to do. But this year, Baylor wasn't the team that we thought they were going to be. I think they turned the ball over a little bit too much. They're 6-5, 4-4 in the Big 12 Conference. They've lost 2 straight games. They're 3-3 at home, 3-2 on the road. So as you look at this Baylor Bears team and you look at what Texas was able to do last week, was last week for the Baylor Bears one of those games where they're not going to be able to come back from that tough defeat, that walk-off defeat on their home field? Or is this something that they are going to rally at because they know that Texas is trying to play for something that they can control, that the only thing they control is that game? But do you think that they're going to be able to come back and really charge themselves back up to be able to face the Texas Longhorns?
You know, they're the defending champs, and it's hard to, the champs don't like to lose.
Right.
They really, really don't. That game hurt them last week, that fire drill at the end with TCU, because they outplayed them during the course of the game. They really did, but they just don't have those dynamic wide receivers like they used to. One's in the NFL, I guess, with the Patriots winning the second or third round. You know, they got 2 secondary guys that are playing in the NFL.
Yep.
They've still got some brutes on the defensive line, but that leadership from Petrie and those guys that they had last year, they're missing a little bit of leadership, and you can tell that. But offensively, there's not. I mean, I like the running back. I like the big kid, but I do really like the freshman. I think he's going to be somebody special. But I like the coach. That quiet dude can coach defense. He really can. So if you're not prepared and you're willing to give up the run and say, okay, we want to throw the ball, he's going to do the same exact thing that TCU did. They're going to try to stop. They're going to do everything they can to stop Bijan on a nasty day. You know, they're going to hit him, hope he fumbles, try to take the ball from him, cause turnovers that way. But if Texas wants to spend their time throwing the football into that secondary, that's going to be fine with Dave Aranda. They just don't want Bijan Robinson to get 34 carries and 214 yards on you to win a game. So they're going to say, well, we'll do the same exact thing TCU did. Put it in the hands of your young quarterback, and can he get it done, or will he get it done? So I think that'll be it. But they'll be up to the task defensively. But for Texas, the way they've been playing run defense right now, those up front guys, I think this is not just an aberration. I think this is something that is going to be long lasting. Whether the guys graduate and leave, and Coburn and Sweat and those guys leave, I think the mindset of this Texas defense on the front end on that defensive line, I think that's what they are. That Bo Davis now has that mindset. He's looking for players to fit that role, and it's not going to take 2 or 3 years for guys like Coburn and those guys to finally, okay, now we're here.
Right.
We're my senior year, we're here. I mean, I think Texas is going to find defensive players that are going to be ready as sophomores, redshirt freshmen that are going to be ready to start playing.
Yeah. And I bet you'll hit a couple in the transfer portal this year, too, to fill some needs.
If those other guys leave, some others are going to come here that'll turn over, that probably had even more of a killer dog instinct than them, where they were, and they'll come into this culture here, and this crazy little I'm in Austin culture won't bother them. They're just going to be football players.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's where the coaching is right now.
So let me ask you this. So when I look at this game and how I think it's going to play out, I think both teams are going to try to run the football.
Sure.
We've seen how that happened. We got a chance last week to watch Baylor run the ball against TCU, that team that Texas could not run the ball against.
Yes.
And then you get a chance to look at how Texas last week ran the ball against a team. I think that was, obviously we talked about how bad that Kansas defense was going into the game, and they were even worse when we got a chance to actually watch them play.
Right. I like the offensive coordinator for Baylor because he got to the perimeter too.
Correct.
He got his big guy on the outside. Okay, if he breaks containment,
you bring your
you bring your secondary guys to come up and try to tackle him. He's getting 6.
Right. So what would be the game plan for both of these teams as you start to look at it? If you're the Baylor Bears, how would you attack the Texas Longhorns in this week? The Texas defense has shown up week after week after week.
They have.
And they have gotten better. And you just mentioned the fact that PK and what Bo Davis has done with that defensive line has changed the narrative of the development part at the University of Texas, because we've seen guys get better. You know what?
And I think as much as it kind of bothers me to say this, I think they've done a little bit better job in the secondary with the players too.
I agree.
Because I was ready to get rid of that whole gang that coached in the secondary. In the beginning of this season, I was like, dude, they need to find some secondary coaches here that can coach some guys up. But I'm watching these young guys play in the secondary, come out of the secondary and make these unbelievable plays.
Jadae Barron is somebody that stood out to me all year.
You run a quick screen on him,
Woo!
You better get it off because he's liable to take the ball but he's going to make the tackle. And the broken arm dude is my favorite. Anthony Cook is. That dude is my favorite. That guy.
Broken arm dude.
Yeah, the dudes that show up on film. I like guys that show up on film. That are around the pile.
All the time.
And then you see guys that aren't around. They don't have any guys on this Texas, even in the secondary right now, that aren't around the pile. They're around.
Right.
They really cover up from each other. They have nice fits. They're not the best. There haven't been a lot of bombs thrown on them because teams aren't.
They don't have time to do that.
They don't have time to do that with the pressure they've been getting. But they're still not the greatest in the one-on-ones, but neither is Texas at getting the one-on-ones, the long balls themselves.
Both.
So I like what they're doing better in the secondary because, like I said, in the beginning, of the season, I was like, dude, they need to get some coaches back there that know what they're
Right.
doing with this secondary, because you're going to get better skill players at Texas in that secondary.
Correct.
But if they're not coached up right,
They don't. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you bring
but
in.
what
if you're
they
not
have,
coaching them up
what
right.
they have right now is a bunch of guys that will give their heart and they hustle like mad.
Right.
Barron is, I mean, that dude, watching him play, there's not many guys
Man,
like that.
I love watching him play. He's been one of the guys.
He's got
like
great
you said,
instinct
and
to
like
the game.
you said, he's always around the ball. That's why he's got an interception return
Fumble
for a
recoveries,
touchdown.
be
Fumble
aware of that.
recovery to the house. I mean, he's grown so much in a short period of time, and it goes back to what we were talking about before, that development stage as a football player here at the University of Texas, where people were making fun of the University of Texas
Oh, yeah.
for not developing these guys. But we've been talking about Keandre Coburn, his growth and what he's been able to do, his change. The NFL, Reese's Senior Bowl is looking at a player like him. Think about what Jalen Ford has become
Dude,
now
that dude
at
right
the
there,
linebacker
that dude
position.
has been the best player on that defense.
Correct.
Which is it's hard to think of. That guy has been, you're talking about instincts to the game of a young guy dropping in coverage and knowing where
Getting
to be.
interceptions.
Yeah.
He's another one that's always around
He's
the
a
ball.
film guy too. He's always around. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Now it's not like Deuce Vaughn ain't gonna beat him every once in a while because
Right.
somebody who's got skills.
Deuce is going to beat everybody every once in a while.
Somebody's going to have better skills, but there's no. I haven't seen a player on that defense with the instincts that he has.
Right.
You know, this is supposed to be an overshown
It was his
defense.
show. Yeah.
This is supposed to be his show, but that other kid at linebacker has played really, really well.
Yeah, he stepped up and definitely has shown up on film, as you like to
PK
say.
is the linebacker coach, right?
No, it's Choate.
Well, whoever's coaching the linebackers has done a fantastic job with that kid.
Jeff Choate.
I mean,
he's done a great job with
He's
that.
got some natural instincts, but some of that is coaching right there.
No doubt. And it goes back to what we've talked about before. And Rod obviously studies the film
Mm-hmm.
all the time, and that is something that it looks like these kids are doing a lot more. But I wanted to ask you this, as a former coach and someone who's been around the game as long as you have and understands what it's all about, do you think that Gary Patterson's impact has helped PK and along with all the players about certain things and keys to the game and how their game has gotten better? Is that imprint of
the
Gary
Cobras
Patterson?
and the Sweats and those guys, I think that has a lot to do with Coach Patterson.
Okay.
It just does. I mean, when Gary Patterson was at TCU, he's very similar to the coach that's at Texas Tech. He just said, if you keep punching Texas in the face, eventually they'll roll over.
And that's
They'll
why.
roll over.
Yeah.
And I think for him, he's brought that mindset to this defensive line and the way they treat things, and that's why they get the pressure, and that's why, I mean, the big tubbies are getting all over the place. They're moving better than they moved last year. You know, they're playing to what their skill set really is. There's not a dynamic player, but those are guys that can be in the NFL run stuffers. They've got those big kind of bodies, and they can make some one-on-one moves and get things done. I think Gary Patterson has had a lot to do with that. And I'll tell you what, at College Station, that scares me more than anything. If they decide to buy out that dude in College Station,
Yeah.
Gary Patterson would go there, and the kind of recruiting that they would have would scare the hell out of anybody.
So you would think that if that were to happen, if the alums the big money boosters got together and said, we want Jimbo out because the writing is on the wall that he has failed miserably and pretty much lost the locker room and lost that team, wouldn't you say?
And once you see all those kids are jumping the portal.
Oh, my goodness. This is going to be –
You don't think Gary Patterson could recruit the state of Texas?
Oh, no doubt
and beat
about
a place
it.
like Texas and A&M, what he would do with that defense and defensive line and those kind of players that they've been getting and recruiting?
But do you think that's a place that he would want to go, or do you think he's more of an Auburn type of guy or a Wisconsin type of guy? Do you think
Or Nebraska
he would,
kind of guy?
a Nebraska kind of guy? Even though he said right now he's here to finish the task with Coach Sark, do you think he would be
his
that type
agent
of guy?
ain't finishing finishing his other tasks.
Well, no,
Right.
you got, and there's also Matt Rules out there who's going to take one of these jobs as
Sure.
well.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and I like Gary Patterson to go. He's definitely. I mean, I find it hard to believe he's going to be back next year, just because there's going to be enough offers out for him. I don't think A&M's getting rid of Jimbo this year just because the $94 million. Like, that's just a lot of money to pay a guy $94 million,
And then have to pay the next
and
guy.
then have to pay the next. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a big check, and then especially when you're like, man, well, we just wrote all these checks to these kids, and now they're walking out on us.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on, Gary is, take a step back, laid back guy. He's in Austin, Texas. His wife went to school at the University of Texas.
Yeah.
She's in Austin. She's used to being around Austin. She loves this city. You know, they still got a home up in Fort Worth area. I mean, he may truly not want to be the head coach still. He may still be in that mindset where, you know what, I like being around his kids. I don't need all that responsibility. By the way, I got enough money already in the bank from where I was for all those years. I've got a couple homes, but to leave Austin, Texas, and still be a part of this, I don't know. It all depends. I mean, people can throw a lot of money at you, but it may not always be about the money with somebody like Gary. You may not want that kind of responsibility.
No, and I mean, you also got to remember, he may be watching what TCU's doing and having mixed feelings about a lot of kids he recruited going on to play for a national championship when he's not there. So we don't even know how he's going to feel about that, if that's going to make him want to come back more or come back less. Just be like, man,
You're right.
that's a big deal. That these are all the kids. I recruited all these kids pretty much, and they're now number 4 in the nation. They could be going to play for a title.
Yeah, but the money that these head coaches get now, the contracts are so. If you're about the money, and you're about being in charge at 62 years old, and so you got to expect yourself to be coaching for at least 5 years, even though they fire you in 2 and 3 and everything else. But your expectations are you're going to be a head coach, to your 60s, to your my age. So it's almost one of those things like, do I want to do that? How much money do I need? Am I with my 2 houses and living in Austin and still being around these young players like this, still having a hand in success, or do I have to be the head guy? Do I have to be the head guy? Is that money that important to me, or am I the guitar playing? I like 6th Street. I like the music.
Someone
capital.
just gave him a record deal. We'll just give him a record deal. Let him write some songs.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah, you can keep him around here. Patrick will play him on 512 Fridays.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Patrick will look out for him
And then
during
again,
that time.
62, you're still a young man, and money's still, you've got to plan for the kind of still keep planning for the future. I guess I don't know.
Or for the people around your family that you might
true.
be able to take care of.
But your heart has to be in the game.
You definitely have to be in the game. But from what I hear, he's enjoying the time of being able to leave when he wants to.
You're
still
right.
be a part of it. You're
gotta
still
worry about
around
all
it.
the alums.
You don't have to do all the stuff. You can
No.
go and hang out and not have to do the stuff that most of these coaches have to do, especially here at the University of Texas.
Yeah, that dude
We
has banked a
understand.
lot of money. He's
Yes,
been
he
around for a
has.
long time.
And he also has a statue of himself up at
That's
TCU.
true.
He's done a lot. And I appreciate the fact that he decided to come here. As you brought up, his wife is an alum
His
here.
wife
She
was
here with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a Texas Angel when I was here. She showed Ricky around and all the guys around. She was wonderful.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful part about it. And I think he's done a great job. But, as we look at this weekend and what's to be expected, the senior
I don't
moment.
like Baylor. I hate Baylor.
I know. Well, a
You
lot
know
of
how
people
much
don't hate
how
Baylor.
much I despise that. One of my most embarrassing coaching moments when I ran out on the field when what was the name? Reedy was the head coach because I was about to give him a earful.
Really?
And I ran out and I slipped.
Oh, no.
No, and there was a penalty, and it wasn't on me, but it was the game didn't end. There was still one more play, and I was ready to go out and just give him a whole earful over one of their. And I went right on my ass and my back. Probably why I hurt my back. And the players looked at me like, "Damn, you just can't wait to get out there." To old Chuck.
You was about to go
I was
put
about
that
to,
work in?
Oh, I was about to put that work in. I love beating them.
My man Buck was about
I used
to
to
go
wear.
up
I used to put a teddy bear in my pants, in front of my pants during Baylor week, and have this little teddy bear, and guys are, the head would be sticking out of there. I don't like them. I didn't like games.
You're not a big fan of the Baylor Bears.
I was more of a Texas Tech fan than anything.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't mind going to Lubbock and having them throw 2 tortillas at Ricky. Because Ricky took a couple bites out of one.
I was there, but I was living in Lubbock at the time when y'all came in, and people were throwing those out there. But Rick was sitting there, never took his helmet off.
He never
took his helmet off.
Never took his helmet
Never took his helmet off.
He took one of those things and put it in his mouth and took a bite. I'm like, what is wrong with you, man?
It was Ricky Williams versus Ricky Williams.
That's right.
At that time at Texas Tech, and I was living there during that time. But before we get to the Hard Knocks Life here, we'll be
What
talking
you got
to.
anyway? What do you got going on?
We got Dripping Springs volleyball state champion head coach Michael Kane will be joining us, and we're going to talk about that. But I want to before we let you go today, we'll probably do that in the off the record. I want to talk to you about your senior moment when your last game and how you will never, ever forget that.
Oh.
We'll get into that, all that and more. We'll be back with the Hard Knocks Life and Dripping Springs volleyball coach Michael Kane will be joining us. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Mike Hart here for Kenneth Banks. Are you tired of your financial advisor's only game plan is telling you to ride it out? When you're standing eye to eye with market volatility, you want a financial advisor that won't tell you to just ride it out. Instead, you want someone working alongside you, helping you navigate through today's market roller coaster. You want Kenneth Banks with Equitable Advisors Austin. Ken Banks works with his clients as individuals, not as dollars and not as stats. Does your financial advisor communicate with you regularly? Kenneth Banks does. You know why? Kenneth Banks will return your call within 24 hours. Talk with Kenneth Banks today at 901-679-9157, and together you can plan a future that reflects who you really are. Don't just ride it out with the other guys. Talk with Kenneth Banks at 901-679-9157. That's Kenneth Banks with Equitable Advisors Austin, 901-679-9157. Welcome back to a 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie. It's your boy Hardball Hard. You can follow me on Twitter at Hardball Hard. You can follow the vacationing Rod Babers at Rod Babers. You can cyberstalk him as always. You can follow the man that's behind the glass at It's Patrick Davis. We also love it when you're a part of the show. You can hit us up on the Specs text line 512-337-3776. And we got our man Bucky Gabo.
Yeah, you can follow me at Just Follow My Life. That's all. I'll let you know about what my life is.
I was gonna
you don't need to follow me on nothing.
I was going to say, I was going to give out Bucky's Twitter handle. Bucky says he never checks his Twitter handle. I tag him on stuff. He never gets back to me.
CB will let you know. I got off about 4 years ago. Some people had said some stuff that got way too personal for me, and I said, you know what? I don't need this. You don't really know me. I'll let you know me. I'll tell you the stories that you need to know about me.
That's right.
You can
make up
contact
stuff.
Bucky if you have his phone number.
Yeah, that's the only way you can contact
You can text
Bucky.
me anytime if you got my phone number, you can text me anytime of the day or morning that you want. I'll get back to you.
And joining us right now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline, he is now known as the 6A state champion of volleyball of the Dripping Springs Tigers. He is one head coach, Michael Kane. Coach, how does that feel to be called a state champion as of today?
I'm still. Thank you for having us on, and I'm still kind of walking on clouds. It's kind of a surreal experience, and I'm super excited for the girls and for them to get this opportunity to take care of business up in Dallas.
You know, it's been fantastic. It's been a fantastic year, but you have built that program. That program has been building. This isn't just a one-year deal. It just happened to you guys this year winning a state championship. This is a program that in 5A has been building for this. You guys have worked very hard over the last 5 or 6 years in order to get to this spot, correct?
Oh, Bucky, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's for a coach or a player to be at the state tournament is a lifelong dream, and we've been so blessed in Dripping Springs. This is our sixth time in the last 10 years that we've been in the Final Four. We won it in 2015 in 5A, and I've been asked a lot of questions regarding what would be the biggest jump from 5A to 6A, and the reality is these kids have been competing against the top echelon of 6A and 5A teams in the state for the last decade. So for us, it was, business as usual, so to speak. But it's always nice to prove people that success is success, and the top teams in the state can be 5A, 6A, and there's some amazing teams in 4A as well. I mean, I'm just super proud, and for us, it's a cool experience. You've got kids that from all of the former state tournament appearance players showed up to watch the game and receiving hundreds of texts. It's a family, and it's certainly been a platform that's been out there for the last decade for sure.
Coach, we wanted to, obviously congratulations on that, the success you've been building for it. You've been around the game for quite some time, whether it's through your Austin Performance volleyball club, and then also you've got a lot of young players. I'll get into the older players in just a second, but talk about some of the younger players that came in and automatically had an impact in the situation where you're playing for a state championship for the first time ever at 6A.
Yeah, this is a kind of a cool combination of some really talented older players who are committed to play at the next level, and in conjunction with them, we have the blessing of having some young kids. You've got a sophomore, Ashley Houston, that starts for us in the middle as a middle blocker. You've got a sophomore in Riley Certain who starts for us on the right side, and then we've got two freshmen that actually start. One was our setter, one of our setters, Sydney Lund, and then we've got this other freshman that a lot of people are pretty excited about. She's probably one of the top recruits in the country in her age group, and her name's Henley Anderson, and she's just taking the state by storm. A lot of people
6'4".
She's a special kid. There's no question, and so they make you look good for sure. But they've had some great leadership with the upperclassmen to mix in with those younger kids who are obviously uber talented. But it's been quite the run for sure. Coach,
tell us about the family in the area of Dripping Springs. I live in Dripping Springs now.
Bucky's part of your community.
Big part of it, and I'm very happy about it. I never got a chance myself. I coached college, but I never coached high school, and I was in. you know, I was thinking in my mind after doing broadcasts for Lake Travis football over the last 5 years, I'm thinking, boy, I've really missed out. And in the state of Texas and the family that it's all about. Tell us about parents and the involvement of your volleyball, your family, the whole family that's involved in not only just the football part of it, but the volleyball part of it, and families.
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, that's probably one of the underlining themes of the program. I mean, I'm personally have an amazing wife, Kaylee, who's actually a coach as well. I've had my brother, a lot of people know, used to be Thomas Kane, who used to be my assistant for a little bit. Now he's the head coach at Buda Johnson. And, you know, on a personal level, all my family at the games, you know, my parents are always at every game. They're at the state tournament. My sister-in-law, Allison, everybody, Michelle, my whole family's there. So I think it transcends into how I've kind of raised the program. Mm-hmm. And with the parents out in the community of Dripping Springs, they've got on board. They've celebrated, you know, every little thing. They've trusted me with the kids. And again, the biggest, I guess, sense of success in building a family, as I mentioned earlier, you know, along the way, the former players who come back. When we won the regional tournament to get to the Final Four, some seniors from their class, the previous class, bought breakfast tacos for the kids for the 7 a.m. practice they had the next day. Former players at the state tournament just there to watch, making the trip. In 2020, when we went to the state semifinals, and that was COVID year, we played in Houston. Several of the state champion team kids from 2015 made the drive up to. It's just out to the game. To me, that's the biggest sense of success, when you have kids that buy into your program, that want to be a part of it. And the Dripping Springs community has followed suit with all of that. You know, they've supported us 100%. They're fully invested. A lot of people, as you know, as a coach, you're only judged on your last win, so to speak. And my parents have been through us and supportive of us through thick and thin. You know, we took a couple lumps earlier in the year, but I knew that was to be expected with some of the youth in key positions, and we just grew every day and never doubted what we were going to be able to do.
We're talking to the head coach of the Dripping Springs Tigers volleyball team, the 2022 UIL 6A state champion, Coach Michael Kane. And, Coach, let's talk about your MVP, Mackenzie Plante. She was a senior outside hitter, and she signed to go to Tennessee, and she was the MVP of the state championship game. Talk about her for coming up in the program as a freshman and to where she is now. And is that something you've talked about, everyone coming back and giving back? Is that something that she benefited from as she came up through the program?
Yeah, I mean, Mackenzie is a special kid. You know, it's a lot of times when you have these superstars or these kids that are big-time recruits, high school coaches a lot of times across the state will say, sometimes these kids are tough to coach because they might feel as if they know where, you know, they know a lot more than you do, or they're maybe not receptive, or they're already checked out, ready to move on. Mackenzie, coincidentally, is going to be graduating early and heading to Knoxville to start practicing with the team in January. So, you know, a lot of people could think that this young lady is already moved on, but the reality is she was fully invested in the program. She actually came to us as a sophomore, and she's just taken the town by storm and made her presence known immediately. You know, we went to the state tournament, as I mentioned before, in the 2020 in her sophomore year, and missed out on our junior year. We lost in the regional finals, and she's just been a constant on the team, more so not just a player, but as a leader. She's had a heck of a year. She actually was named to the TVCA All-Star game over the summer, and wound up, which is the best of the best in the state, and was the MVP of that All-Star game. I mean, she doesn't ever walk on the court and you don't know where she's at, you know. But again, a humble kid, hardworking kid, and again, I think she certainly brought in a kid like Henley, who's destined for stardom and is one of the most recruited kids in the country right now, and kind of talked to her about how to conduct business on a day-to-day basis, whether it be through practice or through games, your mental fortitude through, you know, trials and tribulations of the game. She's just been a really, really good asset to the program, and certainly super proud of that kid.
How Michael, have you, this is now that you've won a state championship, now have you looked in the mirror and said, damn, they're all going to be coming after me now next year? I mean, every time we play this game, somebody else is going to try to dethrone us, even in the regular season. I mean, you've had to grow through all of this too. I mean, it's kind of sobering when you look in the mirror and say, everybody's after us now.
It is. And I think that's because we've been fortunate to have been successful in the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we get that from everybody. People get amped up to play against you. We'll be early, like as you mentioned, we'll be in the early preseason, and someone beats you and they celebrate like they won the national championship. And I make my kids sit there and wear that. I want them to look at that and say, this is what it means to them to beat you. And you got to know that everybody's going to act like that because you're the pinnacle of where they want to be.
Right.
And they're trying to chase that down. And so anytime I see teams that celebrate excessively after beating us, I make my kids stand there and stare at it because I want them to understand that, for everybody else, you're the feather in the cap. For us, I say sadly, our expectations are to win a state championship because we've been fortunate to do so. To even utter the fact that that's a goal consistently is slightly embarrassing just because one time in a lifetime is coach's dream. And for us to have gone to the state tournament 6 times and to have won it twice is ridiculous, to be honest. But it's become the norm, and I'm proud of the girls for how they handle it.
Coach, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you 2 things. Number one, I know that y'all are all going to be out supporting the Dripping Springs football team coming up this weekend, but I also wanted to ask you, when is the parade, and how can we get invited to that thing?
Hey, we're going to set that up, and we'll get you invited. I know it. Unfortunately for us, our state championship hits right at the beginning of Thanksgiving, so we're still trying to let the dust settle. But we'll definitely let you guys get you guys the invite. And
Absolutely.
I'm excited about those football guys. Coach Z's done a great job with the football program. A lot. What a statement, I think, for the Dripping Springs High School to begin with, to start off the season. And we had a great successful run with the tennis program. Our cross-country kids had some kids at the state tournament. Your volleyball team wins the state championship, and your football team is just running through the playoffs right now and having just an amazing season thus far. And that's a pretty daggone good start to 6A athletics for Dripping Springs for sure. So there's a lot of buzz in Dripping Springs, that's for sure.
And y'all let Bucky be part of y'all's
Heck
community.
yeah.
How about that?
There
How
you go.
about that?
We'll let him lead the charge.
There you go.
He will definitely be at the front of that parade.
I want to get anybody to get Bucky on a golf course. That's what I'm looking
There you
for.
go.
He's ready for that. He'll take that anytime. Coach, I want to thank you for the time and congratulations. And I know that Zach Lucero is a big fan, as is Snoop Daniel and the whole Flex crew. So continued success, and we can't wait to see what you have next year.
Coach, have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and just real quick, I want to make sure I say thanks to all those guys that, the Flex Austin. You guys are the attention that you guys have given to volleyball. It's one of the fastest and largest growing sports in the state and in the country, quite frankly. And the fact that you guys are, I know it's an exciting time for the Texas Baylor game and Hook'em tomorrow for sure, but for y'all to take some time out for the volleyball world is humbling, and I really appreciate you guys. And the guys at Flex Austin are amazing, so thank you guys. Thank them for that.
Enjoy your
problem.
Thanksgiving, Coach. Appreciate it.
And Bucky and I are fathers who had kids that played athletics, and if you can have a chance to spotlight some of these kids and the local people,
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. So keep up the great work.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Man, that's unbelievable. Congratulations to the Dripping Springs community as they continue to take over. I'm not going to say take over all the way, but the volleyball team did, and they won a state championship.
Oh, they've been
So
cranking it
they've
up
been
in
cranking
5A.
it up there.
They've been getting it going now.
And that's what it's all about. We'll be back with Bucky's story about his senior day, and I want to get his thoughts on some of these other seniors that will be leaving the University of Texas. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to a 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie. And this is a different off the record because we have our man Bucky Godbolt, former coach at the Texas Longhorns, and you hear him every Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 a.m. with the other half of B and E, my man Bucky Godbolt. And Bucky, you talked about it. Friday will be senior day for the University of Texas.
Absolutely.
And a lot of players are going to take that walk for the last time. Some will probably come back. They may have multiple senior days. We've seen that happen too. But you talked about your last game as a senior at Boston College and what it was like, and you ended up losing that game.
Yes, you
but
did.
Not necessarily about the loss, but what was it like when you took the field knowing that that was the last time you were going to play for Boston College?
Well, I mean, when I was a player there, I never went to a bowl game. Now, as a coach, I went to a bowl game every year that I coached football. I've never been
That's a beautiful thing right there.
I've never been out of a year that I didn't go to a bowl, but as a player, I never went to a bowl, so I knew there was no bowl after the game. And, back in those days at Boston College, our rivalry at the end of the year was Holy Cross. We weren't playing, we played Texas like 3 times during my career as a player, but, the ending game was against the other Catholic school in Worcester, Mass, and Holy Cross. And 2 weeks before that, my quarterback had got kicked off the team for, drinking schnapps and getting drunk and coming to practice, where that guy threw a 60-yard pass and hit a dude on the track. He said, "Watch me hit this dude." I'm like, "There's no way, you drunk fool." He threw that thing, hit the guy right in the back of the head. And they eventually carted him off the field. So I remember being there, and I remember banners that said, hey, they had a picture of my quarterback throwing me a six-pack. "Catch this, Buck. Catch this six-pack." And we lost that game. And that feeling of losing in your last game, and I was okay. I was an okay wide receiver. I went as a free agent to the New York Football Giants and, got cut at 4 o'clock of the last cut day. And
wow.
The Turk came and got my playbook and the whole works. But it was just a sad, sad feeling. I mean, when you put that uniform on, and for these guys, you put that uniform, some of them will put it on for the last time, except for this team will go to a bowl game. But the last time at your home place,
right.
That locker room, being around your teammates for the last time at home, that's a big deal. You put a lot into – guys put an awful lot into football, as you do everything else that your blood, sweat, and tears into. And it doesn't matter what it is, what sport it is. But on that final time when you may not play that game again, it is you want to go out with a bang. And guys can make that confusing. I lost that game, and I never forgot the way that felt on losing. So you want to go on a good note. But one of the reasons that we lost that game, guys on their last game wanted to play outside of the box of how we played the game throughout the course of the football season. And you don't want that to happen to you. You don't want to go out as a Texas football player thinking that, this is my last game. I'm going to do something that I want to do in my last game. Mm-hmm. All the stuff that the coaches have been telling you, I'm going to do it my way on this particular day because I don't have to worry about it again. I don't have to worry about getting screamed at by the coach or whatever it is. So you want to make sure that the things you came into this game doing, you want to leave doing, and you want to do it the right way. And you want to go out with that sweet taste of victory and not that sour taste that I got on that final time that I got an opportunity to play for my university. And for this place, I talk more about Texas. I went to school in Boston, but this is a place that I always wanted to be. My family has been here. I've raised my kids in this city and been a part of this university and still feel like this is my university right now. So
yeah.
I don't want to see the guys go out, and especially to Baylor. No.
Because you hate
I don't
Baylor.
like Baylor. I don't like Baylor at all. I don't want to see them go out on a bad note, especially what I think way this team has started to get it.
Right.
I think they get it. I think this football coach gets it. You don't recruit at the level of the kind of guys that he's recruiting right now if you don't have rapport with players and families and be a part of it. And these families have brought Sark and his staff into their lives, and I think they will continue to do that because I still believe this. If you keep getting the talent, eventually the talent will outweigh your coaching.
Right.
No matter, because every Monday you come up and always say, when you lose, it's my fault. Well, eventually the talent, you're not going to have to come up there to the podium anymore because your talent's going to be so good, it's going to outweigh some of the bad things that you do as a coach.
Yeah.
I think they're on the road to that. And I hope continued success for this group. And I can see that they're learning some stuff from these coaches, from these different position coaches. You can just tell that. But your leader has to be the leader. And, Steve is the leader.
Yep.
So no matter what, once again, his job is not to worry about Bijan Robinson's future in the NFL. His job is to win while he has Bijan Robinson, in his fold.
Yes.
And if he has to give it to him 37 times to win that final game, give it to him 37 times.
Please.
He's resilient. He'll bounce. Believe me, in 2 weeks or a week, he'll bounce right back like he never played in that game, like nothing ever bothered him.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, he'll
right
be
there.
in the ice tub and the whirlpool. Nothing. I carried it 37. Are you sure? Because I could have carried it 47 if I needed to.
Right. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
But-
And thank you guys for having me today. I appreciate it. And for you guys, have a really, and for you folks out there, keep your head on a swivel.
That's right.
Know your surroundings still. We're coming into the holiday season, and you want to have such a good time and you want to enjoy yourselves. For some, it's been a hard couple years, and this year has been especially hard on others. Listen, keep your head on a swivel. Know your surroundings, and for all you little criminals that are going out there, going into people's mailboxes and all that stuff, I got my eye out.
But
You can't get to mine.
Buck's got that eye out
Dripping
for you.
Springs.
Oh, don't
Dripping
do it in
Springs
my
neighborhood
neighborhood.
watch.
Don't come up in my neighborhood.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Bucky Gabo. Bucky, as always, man, we thank you for your time. We appreciate the great work that you do every single morning, and you are a beacon to other people. But I am with Zay. You definitely do not need to be the brown Santa for Austin, Texas. We need to let that go, Buck.
Why?
You're not the brown Santa, man.
I am.
Nope. Hey, what'd he say? You're a $1.05, Buck. You can't.
You can't stuff stuff into my belly.
You can't
this
do
year?
that. You were talking about stuffing that bear in your pants.
Yeah.
That still is not enough.
That's
you
not
are not
enough?
the bear.
No.
You did a great job doing it. And as always, man, we thank you for taking the time
Thank
with
you
us.
guys. You guys
and keep
be
up the
safe.
great work and happy holidays and enjoy your Thanksgiving solo
Yeah,
with
man.
your animals.
Yeah, me and the animals. This is Animal House now.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll be back, and we'll be at the top of the hour. We're going to talk a little bit of the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Football Giants and what we expect this week. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Mike Harge here for Quick Roofing. Let me ask you a quick question about your roof. How often do you even think about it? When it rains, high winds, or probably not even often enough. I promise you that. Do yourself a favor, go to quickroofing.com. You can get a free, no-obligation inspection. That's all you have to do. Let me tell you the story about my friends over at Quick Roofing. Jeff Quick started Quick Roofing with one roof in 1984. Now, 38 years later, he's had over 200,000 projects. You can't stay in business that long if you're not taking care of your customers, and you got to have great customer service as your reputation. Here's some of the other reasons why you should reach out to Quick Roofing. You get a 7-year workmanship warranty. Quick Roofing is fully insured and has all state and local licensing. Quick Roofing doesn't even require any money up front until you get 100% completion and 100% satisfaction. Quick Roofing requires a project manager on every job site, ensuring that the customer is getting everything that was promised. So what are you waiting for? Reach out today and get that free inspection. Ask for my friend, Mark Baker. He's doing a heck of a job over there, so reach out and give him a shout out. Go to quickroofing.com today. That's quickroofing.com. Welcome back to a 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9. Special shout out to our man Bucky Galbo. Thank you for sitting in. I know y'all are probably wondering where our man Rob Babers is. He took an extra day of the holiday. He will be back with us as we do Bevo Boulevard pregame show Friday morning, 7 a.m. We started all off. He will be back there, but shout out to Bucky for sitting in. As I said, this is a 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie. And my man Patrick Davis will give you the lowdown on who this is and where you can hear them. Patrick?
This is Chris Castaneda, and he's going to be out there Sunday at the Rail House in Kyle for the benefit for A.D. Hernandez, the Heebie-Jeebies ADH project. Had some heart problems, had to get some surgery. He's getting better, but we're throwing him a little benefit because, man, when you're a working musician in this town and then you have to miss almost a full year to recover and get back on your feet before you can put that stress on your body again, it's a big thing, but it's going to be, you can tell, it's going to be a good lineup out there on Sunday. It
sounds like it. I mean, everything that you've been playing, it seems like all the artists are going to be out there, and they are blowing it up. And I'm like, man, this is some good soulful music that they're playing right there. I really dig that. But as we get into this 5 o'clock hour, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Cowboys versus the Giants. This is a big week for the Dallas Cowboys. It's a short week for the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants as they get ready to play tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. I think the game kicks off at 3:30. You can hear it right here on the horn. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this offense of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the defense for the New York Giants. The numbers don't always tell you everything about it. And, you know, this is a divisional game, so things change quite a bit when you start to play the divisional game. And this is one of those times where the Cowboys seem to be trending in the right direction. And the New York Giants, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. They're dealing with a bunch of different situations to where the Dallas Cowboys defense seems to be the one that's going to be keying on Saquon Barkley. Obviously, Daniel Jones has the ability to run as well. But when you look at this defense for the Giants and you say, how are they going to stop this offense of the Dallas Cowboys that seems to be hitting on all cylinders since Dak is back? You know, everybody, I had a conversation with one of my good high school friends who is he's a Dallas Cowboy fan, but he's not a big fan of Dak. And he's talking about that game against Tampa Bay, and he talked about the game against Green Bay. And I'm like, okay, those are two games that Dak didn't play well, looked a little confused. But and he dealt with that injury in game one. Yeah. But you also have to come back and look at what he's done and how he's performed. And I said the formula is 25 passes or less and handling the running game. And Tony Pollard has been a major part of the success that the Cowboys have had. And if you can run the ball, Dak is better with play action than he is just dropping back. But he's also good with the no-back set where you got everybody spread out, and he can, as we talked about for Texas Longhorn, quick game. He can get the ball out, and everybody's recognized on who they are. But when you look at what Tony Pollard brings to the table, I'm actually the one that's starting to eat a little bit of crow when I kept saying, let's see how many times he can carry the ball and do it from there.
Me too.
But then, boom, here he is. So what are your thoughts as Tony Pollard and the Dallas Cowboys go up against this Giants defense?
I mean, this is a thing. You got to run the ball just because this is what the method for success for the Cowboys is now. I mean, I think originally I was saying you try and get them like 15 carries apiece between Zeke and Pollard. I think now when you've seen what Pollard can do, I still don't think he's a 30 carry back.
Right.
Just because we've seen him kind of get winded by the end of games. So you'd like to keep him around 20-25. But I think you still go 20-25 and then hopefully just run the ball with Zeke. But you can use Pollard a lot early and Zeke later in games when you got a lead. Because Zeke's going to be really good for you keeping the lead, running the ball, and just running clock. But Pollard will go, hey, man, he's going to get us that big explosive play and get us an easy touchdown. And then when you throw in the fact of when they talk about Dak Prescott wanting him to run a little bit more, a back like Pollard is one of those great backs to run one of those just one of those little outs for Dak where he can just kind of hook out, get to the outside, and let that one defender or two defenders sit and go, well, are you going to let Dak get a first down or are you going to let Pollard get behind you and he's going to get 60 on you?
Right.
Like, just those type of plays you can do by a guy because Pollard's been catching the ball really well this season as well.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it, too, because he brings so many different key pieces to the game that he can bring as far as catching the ball out of the backfield, catching the ball downfield, catching a short pass and turning it into a big play, or explosive play out of the backfield in the I position where he's just going to go downhill. But I also believe with Zeke, they're the yin and the yang of each other as far as the success as a running back in the NFL. We've all talked about it for a very long time, and I even brought it up to Bucky. The way that the NFL is set up, you need to have two good backs. You always need to have two good backs because that's the way the game is being played. It's not the 30 carry a game guy anymore unless you're Derrick Henry and you're playing for the Titans. But they're set up differently because their quarterback, although he threw for 300 yards last week, is not that guy that you want to put the ball in their hands. And there's a lot of people that say you don't want to put the ball in Dak's hands, but we saw last week against an 8-1, although we've all agreed that that's not the regular 8-1 football team that you're used to seeing as a powerhouse, but they went on the road and they curb stomped that team.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always going to be haters for Dak. There's going to be haters for every quarterback. I mean, we see people we see people hating on Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yep.
And not just for his personality, but you're going, man, this guy wins back-to-back MVPs, and then he comes out this year and you go, man, we should have traded him.
Right.
You're like, come on, man. What does a quarterback have to do? Do they have to win a Super Bowl and MVP every single year for you to not think that they're not good enough? There's not 30 starting quality franchise starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Dak is one. He's not going to ever probably be a top 5 quarterback. He can be a top 10 quarterback if you put him in the right system and you have him do and he starts playing well. I think especially if you're able to add another top wide receiver in there, I think that could help him out as well. A big thing is I think when we saw Kellen Moore step into this offense with Cooper Rush and got to see the plays work and got to see some yak yardage. I think there's a lot of coaches that have problems with yak yardage because you can't see it on paper, right? If you're drawing up a pass play on paper and the pass play is, all right, he's going to run out and he's going to run a slant and we're going to throw it to him at 15 yards. In the head of the offensive coach, that's a 15-yard pass. Not thinking, well, I threw this pass for 5 yards. And they go, that's a 5-yard pass. They go, that's not a 5-yard pass.
Right.
He's open.
He's open.
That's a 25-yard pass.
Right.
Because there's yak, but you can't judge that on a playbook. And some coaches, offensive coaches, get in their head, oh, no, especially quarterbacks, that, no, wherever I throw the ball, that's how many yards the play is. Like, that's not how it works.
Right.
That's why they get away from run plays. That's why they get away from short yardage passing. And really good offensive play callers can mix in both. Because you go, hey, man, sometimes we need that big play, and maybe we'll just get a pass interference, and maybe we'll just get that, and that works just as well. Because all we want that one big chunk in one throw. But throughout an entire game, especially when you have a defense, if you don't have a defense, it may be different. But the Cowboys have a defense. The whole key is, hey, man, we need to control time of possession, and we need to get it into the end zone more than we kick field goals.
Right.
And if we can do those two things, because we know we're going to be able to get down the field.
Because our defense is going to be
able to. We know our offense will move the ball.
Correct.
Because we have enough talent on the offensive end that if we're not moving the ball at all, then fine, fire Kellen Moore, fire Mike McCarthy. I don't think that's the problem. It's the problem of getting red zone plays, getting into the end zone, and time of possession.
Right. And it's going to continue to be that. And as we speak about the Dallas Cowboys, joining us at the bottom of the hour during Rod's rant of the day, we'll be talking to Kyle Yeomans, who's the pregame TV host and the postgame TV host for the Dallas Cowboys. And you can actually hear him on some of the pregame stuff as well. He's done a great job. He's actually done some play-by-play for the Cowboys, too, and during the spring. During the preseason, and he's been able to do that, and he's going to join us again, and you've heard him here with us before. But as we talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and when you start to look at what Dak is going to present on the passing side of the ball, we're going to talk a little bit of the defense, but on the passing side of the ball, in the previous meeting versus the Giants, Cooper Rush was able to throw for 215 yards, 1 touchdown, and he had a QBR of 104. And that's when everybody was like, Cooper needs to be our quarterback. He needs to be our quarterback. But both teams are different now. Both teams are in a different place. We didn't think the Giants were going to be that great as we went through the season because we were expecting a little bit of a fall off. But we also didn't know what the offense was going to be for the Dallas Cowboys during that time. And remember, at one point, Cooper Rush, I think, threw for 100 yards in a game, and people were still trying to figure that out. But as this team starts to roll, and Dallas, since since Dak Prescott has been back, this team seems to be finding their groove. They go up there and beat the snot out of Minnesota Vikings, but the defense played well. All parts of the game was on point. Dak was 22 of 25. One of the passes in the end zone to Dalton Schultz was dropped, so he might have even been even better than that. So as we're heading into this day, Turkey Day, when the Dallas Cowboys takes on the Giants, do you think you see Dak, and you mentioned him, Kellen Moore has gotten better with the play calling, seems to be, has changed the way that you look at the game. What do you see Dak and Kellen Moore coming up with this week?
I mean, I think when you saw what you did last time, this was kind of one of the bigger Pollard games early in the season, was against the Giants last time. They had 176 yards on the ground and 30 rushes. You can easily knock that up to 40 rushes in this game.
Right.
And so if you say, hey, man, let's knock that up, those rushes up, because we feel like we're going to be able to score a little bit earlier, so we're not necessarily having to throw as much later in the game, and knock down the passes down to about 25, I think that's your method for success. And, I know it's easy to say you have to score early.
Yep.
But, again, you should be able to score on this Giants defense. You should be able to go. And the Cowboys really haven't had trouble getting into field goal range. We saw Maher field goal range is pretty far from Maher.
Pretty far.
But that's the thing is, can you keep the drives alive? And that's going to be not taking a bunch of big shots over the top and kind of just throwaway plays that Kellen Moore likes to do, and all offensive coordinators like to have.
Right.
Because when you get them, they're great. But it's like it's like a 6'2" point guard trying to go out of center and dunk on him.
Right.
It's awesome when it happens.
John Morant.
But a lot of times you get blocked or the ball gets out or you get fouled and you got to shoot free throws.
Right.
So you just got to go, hey, man, just be smart about it in the beginning of this game. Don't try and get cute. But you can get cute with Pollard.
Right.
You can get cute short, but don't try and throw the ball way downfield a bunch of times, because if you get behind schedule, that's when you start to get behind, and that's when you have to start throwing the ball more. And, I mean, Daniel Jones, I don't know in a short week how you bounce back.
Yep.
He's got to bounce back after probably his worst performance as a pro, at least his worst performance when we thought he was getting better.
Right.
Like his worst performance this season. So to see him kind of bounce back on a very short week, not being with the family, having to take off, play this big national televised game,
Right.
and everyone's looking at you, and Micah Parsons salivating because he wants a Daniel Jones leg. He don't want a turkey leg.
You don't
he wants
want
a
a
Daniel
turkey
Jones
leg,
leg.
yeah.
So I mean, I think hey man, we need to get a lead, because if we put the ball in his hands and not Saquon Barkley's, we know we got this game.
Right, and that's the thing that the Cowboys are going to try to do. They're going to try to take away the run game and make Daniel Jones throw the ball to a depleted receiving core that continues to fall apart as you continue this season. Both teams are coming into this game 7-3, and they know that they're both chasing the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to need some help as this goes along, but and more importantly, the Cowboys are looking to win this game. And I'm looking right now at the Dallas Cowboys injury report, and we'll ask our man Kyle to kind of check this out. But you start looking at some of the injuries that the Cowboys have. Anthony Barr is going to be out. Kelvin Joseph, who, by the way, I'm really not feeling him at the defensive back position. I don't know if it's just because he doesn't have enough work on the field yet, and he's still trying to figure it out. I saw last week they had Anthony Brown back out there playing cornerback. I was still trying to figure out why he was out there. And then I saw boss man Fats out there, Kelvin Joseph. He didn't still look good to me. I'm just really curious to how some of these injuries are going to play out. Micah Parsons has a knee and an ankle. He was limited in practice. He's listed as questionable, and some of the players on the defense are listed as questionable. But you look across at the Giants, they are missing a ton of guys, and most of them are on the offensive line. Even more reason to think that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be able to get in the backfield and corral Saquon Barkley.
And that's a big one if you can – and that's another one. If you can just slow down Saquon Barkley, then they have to throw it that way, and you don't even have to worry about getting a lead or anything else, then you're dominating then, because – we saw last week that Trayvon Diggs basically was shadowing Justin Jefferson around the field. And, man, that was a statement game from Trayvon Diggs.
Yes.
to go against a wide receiver who's been having a year against anybody he wants. But you say on the other end, the downside of having a Trayvon Diggs is that the ball's not going over there.
Right.
So he's
Right.
shutting your guy down, but if they're throwing 30 passes, 28 of them are probably going to be to another side of the
For
field.
sure.
And that's where these other guys, I think, are not necessarily stepping up because they're not used to having that amount of passes thrown their way.
Right.
They're used to, hey, man, well, we're going to get it, every once in a while they'll come my way, but my guy won't be open. It'll be a check down. And like, no, man, they're scheming plays for your guy because they know Trayvon Diggs has the number one shut down, and the Giants don't have a number one.
Yep.
So you can stick whoever you want on that side of the field, and they're not necessarily going to – Trayvon Diggs ain't shadowing anybody. So
Right.
you can kind of draw
Right.
it up how you want and go, all right, we're going to switch it out and put this guy over here, and whoever we want, scheme it open. We're just not throwing to Trayvon Diggs this game.
Yeah.
Hey, just at the beginning of the play, Daniel Jones, and you look wherever he's at, don't even turn your head back that way.
Right. That's not what we're going to
We
be
don't even
looking
want to
for.
see your eyes.
That's right. You're going to have to trick a lot of people. Yeah, this is going to be a big game, and this is a transitional game for that division. As we talked about just a little while ago, they are each trying to gain ground on the Philadelphia Eagles. And this team, whoever wins this game, is putting themselves in the driver's seat. If the Cowboys win this game, they've already beaten the Giants one time. This will put them ahead of them if they have to come down to a tiebreaker situation. The Cowboys will be ahead of them as they continue to move forward. I'm excited for Thanksgiving Day. I always love this game because this is the one time where everybody in the family is together, whether you're a Cowboy fan or not. You're either rooting for the Cowboys or you're rooting against them, and everybody's still trying to enjoy their food, but yet still trying to watch this game. So I'm really excited for that.
I'll tell you a story, a fun one. So last Thanksgiving, we go, and I'm watching the game on my phone at my brother's place. My family's all there. I'm watching the game on my phone, and my dad's like, "Oh, just put it on the TV." I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm good. I'll watch it on my phone. I don't need to make everybody watch the game.
Right.
And so he's like, no. My brother's like, yeah, put it on the TV. The game's on TV for 2 minutes, and there's a call on the field. And it's one of those rules that they made. I can't remember what it was now, but it was something like a completion of a pass or a fumble or something like that, where the rule doesn't seem right, but it is what the rule is.
Right.
And my dad doesn't watch enough NFL anymore to know the rule change. And so he's just like, well, that's not like it's whatever. Let's say it's a fumble. He's like, well, that's not a fumble. And I'm like, it is. It's a fumble. And he's like, no, but it's not, because he was. And I'm like, I'm just telling you what it is. He's like, no, this is BS. This is stupid. And I was like, can we turn the game back off again? I watched it on my phone.
Can I just watch it on my phone?
I was trying to not cause any problems. You want to put it on? Like, I wasn't worried about the game. I was worried about you getting mad because how they call the game now.
Right. Yeah, that's normally how it goes over at Thanksgiving. People are either going to be on or off with the Cowboys, and I can't wait for it. I'm excited for these games tomorrow. When we come back, we're going to talk to our man Kyle Yeomans as he is up at Frisco, mostly in Arlington, talking about these Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to get the latest as he brings it here. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Mike Harge here, and I want to talk to you about my friend Sam Dude, the mortgage guru with American Financial. American Financial Network. I've been dealing with Sam for quite some time now, and I know that you've been hearing his commercials throughout the years, but this guy will get you everything that you need to know. Right now, if you are looking to buy a home and you're a self-employed employee and you're still trying to figure out what's going to happen, can I buy a home? Call my man Sam Dude. He can help you out. Go to homeloandude.com. You don't have to ask all those questions unless you want to know the answer, and he can bring you the answers. That's what he does. You don't have to think about it all the time and say, is this right or is this wrong? He can find a way to get you finance. That's what he does. Home values are better than ever before, so use some of your home equity also to pay off your credit card debt, back taxes, or even make some home improvements. You need to ask him, how can I do a cash out refi? You have home equity, and nobody ever understands how you can use it. That's why my man Sam Dude, the mortgage guru with American Financial Network, can help you out with that. You can find him at homeloandude.com. Now more than ever, if you have any questions about your loan or you're trying to buy a new home, get with Sam Dude. There's so many questions that need to be answered, and he has them for you. Don't stress yourself out. Let him work with you, and he'll make the most of that situation. You don't even have to refi if you want to take advantage of some of your equity. You can do a second lien on your home and pay off some of that debt. Your credit card interest rates are probably over 20%. So even at today's home interest rate, you'll still be saving a lot of money. Do yourself a favor. Contact him today, homeloandude.com. Now more than ever, this is the time for you to do that. He's Sam Dude, a local mortgage lender, a family guy and a friend. Find him at homeloandude.com, NMLS 299345. Oh, no. Welcome back to a 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick Davis is breaking down some music, letting us know about some local artists and where they'll be playing. There's a benefit that's going on. Patrick, what you got here?
This is Stupid Drama, and they're going to be playing part of that benefit Sunday at the Rail House for Eddie Hernandez.
Eddie Hernandez.
And I think I may have buried the lead with Eddie Hernandez.
You probably did.
He's from the 254.
Oh, well, hey, and guess who's on the line on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline? Another person that is from the 254. He represents the Dallas Cowboys every week. You can follow him at Kyle_Yeomans on Twitter, but he's also one of the guys that I've been done a lot of work with throughout these years, and he's taught me a lot in this business. He's a good friend of mine, and he covers the Dallas Cowboys. My man Kyle Yeomans. Kyle, what's going on, brother?
What up, Big Mike? And yeah, representing the 254, get a chance to come home for the holidays for a little bit. Of course, after the Cowboys game concludes, they got to wait until a little bit later on Thursday than everybody else. But excited to get back down there to the Central Texas area, man.
And it's always good to talk to you because, you know, you got so much insight when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. And not only that, you've been doing a great job with all your college basketball games, volleyball games. You just a man about the city and still covering the Dallas Cowboys. So let's get right into it. There's a big game this week, but let's go back to last week when the Cowboys went up to Minnesota and pretty much curb stomped the Minnesota Vikings, an 8-1 team. Dallas came in there. They looked very focused. And what was your takeaway from that game as you watched it?
You know, it was one of those games where everything came to fruition. It was all three phases, offense, defense, special teams. It all clicked. And it kind of needed to click at one point because the offense didn't, of course, finish out what they had in Green Bay. They had a 14-point lead. You were up 28-14. You had that lead in Green Bay. They felt like that one slipped away, because Green Bay was a better team, but because Dallas lost that game. That's what they really felt, and they came into that Minnesota matchup with a chip on their shoulder going up against a team that, of course, was 8-1, had shown the NFL that they were certainly a contender as well. And the fact that they went and won that game the way that they did was a huge confidence boost. It was a confidence boost for Dak Prescott and the offense and the offensive line going up against the stout front seven of Minnesota. It was a confidence boost for the defense that got back to the relentless pass rush and stopping the run that they had shown early in the season. And then what else could you say about Brett Maher as well? Because Maher going 4 of 4 on kicks, 2 of which from over 50 yards out, had a fantastic day. It was one of those games that were a dream for the Cowboys, and they were certainly happy with the way it turned out, and they want to try and continue that success in the future.
So let me talk about that because we've been very critical of Dallas and their special teams coming into the season. We didn't know – last time we talked to you, we didn't know who the kicker was going to be, and they finally went back out, got Brett Maher, brought him back, and – talk about what he's been able to bring, the consistency of the kicking game that they've missed for quite some time.
Yeah, that's huge because, like you said, I mean, we were talking about Jonathan Garibay and Liram Hajrullahu early in the season, and instead it was Brett Maher who came out on top. We had no clue what it was going to look like from a kicking situation. And not only did they go out and they found a Brett Maher off of the street that, of course, had not had a ton of success recently, but now he comes in with this new added confidence. So it's a credit to the scouting department. It's a credit to the coaching staff and the look that they got by seeing Maher in the tryout and knowing that he was the right one for the job. And then it's also a huge credit to Brett Maher. It really easily could have gotten away from him again. You miss 1 or 2 kicks, and, of course, it snowballs in the National Football League. So the fact that he has converted the way that he has been a huge plus, and he's become a very highly respected individual in the locker room and somebody that the guys like to rally around.
Kyle, you know, we've been talking a lot about the lack of run defense from the Dallas Cowboys, and then you bring in a man like Hankins, and he's supposed to bring that presence on the defensive line. And now I think he's dealing with an illness, and Anthony Barr may not go. It looks like that he's not going to go. Dante Fowler. Talk about the injuries that the Cowboys are going to be faced with coming into this week.
Yeah, it's really big right now because of especially because New York comes in really banged up in their own right.
Yes.
I mean, they're missing 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen from last week, or guys that would have started at some point last week. So the fact that they're banged up front, you thought that would be an advantage, right? Well, not so fast, because now you've got guys that are questionable like Neville Gallimore, Jonathan Hankins, Dante Fowler Jr., DeMarcus Lawrence, Osa Odighizuwa, Donovan Wilson, Micah Parsons. All these guys are listed as questionable for tomorrow's game, and some of them are because of injuries. Osa is a knee. Micah Parsons is a knee and an ankle. I'm almost certain Micah Parsons is probably going to go.
Yeah, he's a
that
monster.
Type of competitor.
Yeah,
He's going to find his way back out there. And I could say the same thing about DeMarcus Lawrence, but now instead of just dealing with a foot injury, he's dealing with an illness as well. Something going through the defensive room and the defensive meetings at the moment have kept Fowler and Gallimore and Hankins and Joseph and Wilson and, like I said a second ago, DeMarcus Lawrence from being full foregone conclusions that they will play come Thursday afternoon. So it's a big question mark, because at first you thought of it as an advantage, but luckily for the Cowboys, if there was a side of the football that could lose a couple of starters due to an illness, kind of a virus like this going around, it would probably be the defensive side of the football for sure.
We're talking to Kyle Youmans. You can follow him at Kyle_Youmans. He's the TV host, pregame, postgame, draft analysis for the Dallas Cowboys. He is all things Cowboys, so make sure that you give him a follow. And one of the biggest stories of the season thus far has been the development of Tony Pollard. We've talked about Tony Pollard for quite some time now. He's been as advertised, he's been very explosive, but there's also this part that we keep talking about with Ezekiel Elliott, the balance that they are showing, and it's almost like they've become this thunder and lightning type of package where, you need those short, tough yards. That's where Zeke will come in and make it happen. He's always been great as a pass blocker, but if you need an explosive play, whether it's in the screen game, the passing game where he's lined up in a slot, or just big plays from the running back position, Tony Pollard has been that guy. Talk about that relationship and how they've both continued to mature together.
Yeah, it really has been, and it's a credit to Kellen Moore and what he's done as well from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive coordinator standpoint, of putting those guys in a position to be successful. I mean, Tony Pollard, he's always been that explosive player. He's always been that guy that you need a big play, he's the one that's going to get it. But over the last 4 games, he's got 4 straight games with over 100 yards from scrimmage. He's averaging 6.5 yards per carry. Oh, and by the way, he had 2 receiving touchdowns as well, which is something we knew was a possibility during his time coming out of Memphis as well. So it's been a huge plus, a weapon of this offense that has started to emerge, and something that they've really needed was some versatility out of the backfield, because they've always had the 1-2 punch, but you weren't sure if you could do it on their own, or they could do it on their own with Zeke by himself or with Tony by himself at this point in their career. Now you're starting to see that they are certainly capable of carrying the load if the other one is unable to go, and that is a huge plus for this offense, and it continues to add to the element that they have of trying to establish the ground game, run behind this offensive line, and set up the play action for Dak Prescott.
So speaking of Dak Prescott, before we let you go, I wanted to talk about what Dak was able to do last week. And I wanted to ask you, in your personal opinion, and this is not talking head or anything like that, what is the hatred of Dak? Why don't people believe that Dak is the guy? Whether he puts up great numbers like he did last week, or people always revert to the fact that what he did against Green Bay. I still don't get it. I think the Dallas Cowboys are better with Dak Prescott as the quarterback, and to be honest with you, the numbers kind of say so themselves.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and the dominant of him, of what he's been able to do, against the NFC East is unbelievable. I mean, you talk about some of the records that he has against these teams. One loss against Washington, one loss against two losses against New York, three all-time against Philadelphia. He is dominated within his division. I think partially the hatred for Dak just comes from the frustration of not winning those big games. And by big games, I really mean playoff games.
Right.
He hasn't had a ton of playoff success. And at some point, it is warranted, the fact that there is criticism coming from the fan base or coming from outside the fan base that say, hey, Dak can't get it done. He only has the one playoff win. And it came early in his career, even with as good of a team or as good of an offensive line or even weapons around him that he's had, there still hasn't been that playoff success. And especially coming off of a year when you lose a game like he did in the wild card round against San Francisco, that criticism is going to be there. The way to silence that, and he knows this, the organization knows this, coaching staff, the players in that locker room know this, the way you silence that is you win in playoff time. You win in crunch time. You take those big games. They took a big game last week. That was a good team in Minnesota. That's a team that's going to win double-digit games. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're most likely going to win the NFC North, barring some monumental collapse. That is a really good Minnesota team, and you took them to the woodshed in their own stadium. So keep that energy, take it into the playoffs, and all of a sudden that criticism will start to silence. It'll start to fade away. But up to that point, that's really the only thing you can criticize Dak for. He's a leader. He's produced statistically. He's won plenty of regular season games, but the one knock on his resume is he hasn't performed the same way, or at least he hasn't won the same way in the postseason as he has in the regular season.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, Kyle. And, I expected you to break it down just like that, my friend. I did. There he is, Kyle Youmans. Make sure you follow him at Kyle_Youmans on Twitter. He's got a great follow, and he gives out a lot of information. He's all over the place. And if you follow his Twitter, you will see and believe that he is all over the place. Man, happy holidays. It's always good catching up to you, and I hope you and the missus have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, Big Mike. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys as always.
Always. There he is, breaking it down like no other. And he just broke down something about Dak Prescott that I kind of have to swallow a little bit, because it's true. The big playoff games is the biggest answer, and that's what Dallas Cowboy fans hang their hat on. His record is great, but they want them playoff wins, and rightfully so.
I get that, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I do think there's something to be said of you have to make the playoffs.
Right.
And,
I agree.
And that's something the Cowboys have not done many years with different quarterbacks. So I get it. I don't think they necessarily have another option on that team who is a playoff quarterback.
Right.
I mean, I'm a bigger fan of Dak than a lot of people are. I don't think that being a system quarterback and being a quarterback that needs a coach to work with him is a bad thing.
Right.
I think that's a really good thing if it's used correctly, because there's only a few guys who just have raw talent and the brains to be able to walk out there and go, oh, no, I can call this offense. Like, not everybody's Peyton Manning who can walk out and go, no, I can call the plays. I'm good like that.
Yeah.
You need to have somebody like if you have someone like Dak, you need to have somebody in his ear. But what's been good is the whole Cooper Rush thing has helped Kellen Moore learn more of, that's how you communicate with the quarterback. It's easier for me to communicate with Cooper Rush because I'm used to sitting in a room with him, and he's not on the field, he's beside me. I think that's helped a lot, and hopefully that's Dak taking the step towards being a winning playoff quarterback.
Yeah, well, that's what everybody's waiting for, being a winning playoff quarterback. Well, he doesn't have to be in the playoffs just yet. He just needs to play like he's in the playoffs tomorrow when they take on the New York Giants.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back with Off the Record, and Patrick has something that it's going to be very interesting, and he'll break it all down for you on Off the Record. Coming up next, right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to a 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie, where we find out local bands, where they'll be playing. There's a benefit going on, and our man Patrick Davis will give it to us right now.
This is Tom Meany, and he is playing part of that benefit Sunday at the Rail House down in Kyle, kicking things off at 3 p.m. Great singer-songwriter, and just the fact that he paid for the Red Raiders, I won't hold it against him.
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you for looking out for that. We're going to do a real quick off the record. This is something that will be taking place tomorrow during the Dallas Cowboy game, and I found it very interesting that this is the group that the Cowboys decided to have.
Yeah, so every year the Thanksgiving Day Cowboys, Jerry Jones takes it upon himself to make sure there is a halftime show. It's his Super Bowl every year. He's like, look, we may not make it a Super Bowl, but we're going to throw our own party. And they've had a bunch of great ones. The one that everybody remembers is that awful Creed one.
Yes.
Do you remember that Creed
was
halftime show?
Awful.
With the guys floating around?
Yes.
Everybody remembers that one. But this one, they're going with the Jonas Brothers.
Wait, what?
Yeah, all right. So I thought the Jonas Brothers were a thing, and then they all went their separate ways like a decade ago. I feel like it's been a while. I don't know who this is for. Because I get if they were still the kid band that you're like, look, it's Thanksgiving, and Dad's bogarting the TV, but then the kids give some for the kids too and the family. I get that. But I don't think they're that band anymore, are they?
I would not know anything about.
You're the one with kids, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's no way that I don't think my kids know anything about the Jonas Brothers. But I will say, my niece would definitely know a lot about the Jonas Brothers. As a matter of fact, she was mad at me one time when I was at the other station, and I didn't get her Jonas Brothers tickets. So I'm like, oh, okay.
All right. Yeah, no, so they've played it before. Jonas Brothers have done it before. To tell you how old these guys are now, that they should not be the teen heartthrobs anymore, they did it in 2008.
Wow.
So they did it 15 years ago. 15 years ago. That's when they were popular in the band. Like, and I know they all have their own things now, but I don't quite get. I guess they're reuniting, and Jerry Jones is that a touch that he's like, they played here like last year.
Jerry Jones is making sure, hey guys, let's bring them back.
Why couldn't he get his buddy Post Malone over there?
Because that would have actually been cooler.
Yeah, I mean that's his buddy when they're making it rain on their players with schedules.
Exactly.
The weirdest flex you can have.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't get it. I don't know who it's for. Is it like
what's the group?
It's
that
such
you
a
think
small
is gonna be
demographic of people. They're like, well, we're all watching the game, and then that girl who still lives at home, but she's still in that childhood bedroom, and she's just been complaining all day. Like, I don't even like this. You cooked the turkey too dry. I don't even like. Oh, Jonas Brothers.
Oh, I think I need to come out of the room and watch this.
Is that who it's for?
It's got to be.
That's the only person I can think of. Is like the 24-year-old, 25-year-old, like went to college and it didn't work out, but then gets a job, but then she does not really like the job. She's like, well, no, but I want to be an actress. You're like, you're 26 years old. You ain't going to be an actress.
Yeah, that's not going to work
you
for me.
You ain't never even taken an acting class.
No, I don't think that's going to work for me. And if it works for you, please hit us up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. I would love to know if this is for you or your kids. Let's say that. Or your middle-aged daughter, maybe?
Yeah, your middle-aged daughter.
Let's just say that.
And this is for all the people still living at home. That's all I can think.
That'll be good. How about the moms? Would the moms be a part of this?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I figure moms
Young
still
moms.
like decent music.
Yep.
Like, don't you think moms listen? I don't want to disparage moms by saying they listen to bad music.
Yeah, I don't know
honestly,
about
I can't
that.
tell you. I don't know what the Jonas Brothers sound like anymore. I didn't hear them when the first time they came out.
Yeah,
so I have no idea what they're doing now.
I was never a big Jonas Brothers.
Maybe they're a death metal band now. Who knows?
Might be perfect.
I can tell
for
you
the
Jerry
halftime
Jones
show.
don't know.
Yeah, Jerry. I think they're big Dallas Cowboy fans, though. I think they are huge Cowboy fans.
Cool. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, too. I should not be performing at halftime. I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan, but
I was going to say, when did that happen?
I'm not a Cowboys fan.
I knew that was true.
I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. But I don't know if I believe that the Jonas Brothers are going to. Let's put it like this. I know in my house, everybody will not stop eating to be able to watch the Jonas Brothers at halftime. I promise you that. I
No.
think everybody will continue.
No, see,
this is not a halftime show like the Super Bowl.
No, see, I'm the type of guy. If I have the game on, I'm playing music on another speaker. So I'll have music on, the game going, other music happening, and then at halftime you'll be laughing because it'll be some Al Green and the Jonas Brothers on stage doing a coordinated dance.
Exactly. You're gonna be looking around like, hey, when did they start singing Al Green, Frankie Beverly, and Maze?
Oh, these guys sound good. Oh, it's other band.
Man, Jerry Jones always finding something to think that he's gonna bring other people into the party. I just don't see that happening. This might be the first time that everybody listens to the halftime talks by other talking heads on TV. We'll get back into it. We got 1 hour left before we are off until Friday morning right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie, 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie. There's a benefit that's going on down in Kyle, right? It's in Kyle.
Yes.
At the rail house,
in
not
Kyle.
the rail yard, the rail house.
Yes.
That's right. So Patrick has given us a 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie. Patrick?
Yes, it's the benefit happening Sunday at the Rail House. Going to be going on all day. It's for Eddie Hernandez from the Heebie Jeebies ADH Project. Great guy. He's been around the scene for a long time. This is Del Castillo. They're actually going to be headlining it, playing about at 9 o'clock at night on Sunday night.
Woo, sleep.
But these guys, if you've never seen these guys play before, they're two classically trained like acoustic guitar players.
Nice.
And they are insane. Like how fast they're playing in this clip, they play about double speed a lot of songs.
Okay.
It's mind-boggling of how fast they can play guitar. Just an amazingly fun night to watch Del Castillo.
Love it. Can't wait. Let me know how that goes, bro, because, our brother be asleep. I know you're going to be a part of it if I'm
I'll
not
be
mistaken.
out there. I will be out there. I'm sure.
right.
I'm sure they'll have me on stage at some point. I don't know when it'll be.
Right.
But I'll be out there.
Oh, my goodness. I hope it's, after you've had a couple beverages in there.
It's 3 o'clock on a Sunday. I probably had a couple beverages.
I love it. Patrick has been sitting in with me as always. He does a great job, the hardest working man here at our studios. And, of course, I want to thank Bucky Godbolt for sitting in. Rod took an extra day so he can go and see some family as we will be on Bevo Boulevard this Friday starting at 7 a.m. Make sure you wear a poncho because it's supposed to be raining. So make sure that you get yourself covered up. And I heard E. Hogan talk about this. No umbrellas are allowed in the building. So make sure you make your plans to be covered up as the weather may be a little rough. As we talk a little bit about this football game that's coming up tomorrow, Dallas Cowboys are obviously going to be playing at 3:30 versus the New York Giants. But there's games that are going to be happening prior to that. It'll be the Buffalo Bills will be in Detroit, where they played last week, and I'm assuming they all stayed there because the weather was so bad in Buffalo, so they had to pack for 2 weeks of travel as they will take on the Detroit Lions, who have won, 3 straight games now?
3 straight games.
3 straight games.
And Williams, their wide receiver.
Yep, is supposed to be back, Jameson Williams.
He's starting to practice again, so
Yeah.
we're starting to get him back. So it's a bright future there. I mean,
Yeah,
you just need a quarterback.
You might have needed to change your team, Patrick. Instead of going with the Raiders, you should have.
Hey, I'm sorry to everyone in Vegas. It's me. It's me.
It's all Patrick's fault. Buffalo will take on Detroit at 11:30, first game of the day. Buffalo 7-3. The biggest story has been about Josh Allen and how he's kind of changed the way he's played, turning over the ball a lot more. He went from MVP of the league to now everybody's questioning him. Does he need to make change? I think the biggest change that they need to make in Buffalo is finally getting a running game. Quit making Josh Allen be your running game.
Yeah, this is a team. We've known it for a while, but I don't think Josh Allen had transcended to the point where you go, oh, no, we have to completely sell out to stop Josh Allen.
Right.
But this is a thing. They can do things like we saw against Patrick Mahomes, where it was like, hey, man, we're going to make you take these little cheap shots. We're going to take away what your bread and butter and make you do the other things. And they just will not do it.
Right.
And I think, this also goes into Brian Dabble leaving and going where, when you lose a big offensive mind like that, you're running a lot of the same playbook you ran last year.
Correct.
And when you need to change up the playbook because, the defenses have figured out what you're doing, it becomes a little bit harder because that offensive mind is no longer in the locker room with you and no longer in the coaches' meetings.
Right.
So I think they're still trying to find their identity on offense once teams have adjusted midway through this season. They came in on fire when a lot of these teams weren't playing well. But, yeah, man, how do you not make a trade for a better running back? How do you not go out and go, hey, man, we're a piece away from really running away with this. Let's go get Kareem Hunt.
Well, not only that, you don't even need to go get Kareem Hunt. You could have grabbed Darrell Henderson off of waivers yesterday.
Yeah.
When he got released, that was an opportunity for you to go there. I know there's a pecking order when the changes are being made and the
they
waiver
didn't want to pick
wire.
up his salary, but
Right.
that's still, you need somebody.
Yes, you need somebody to help your quarterback who is struggling, obviously.
Go get Melvin Gordon in a bucket of Stickum.
Exactly. He's right there now, a bucket of Stickum. He definitely needs that. That's been his biggest problem. I was talking to a Denver Bronco fan, And I was like, man, y'all got rid of Melvin Gordon. We should have got rid of him a long time ago. All he does is fumble. I was like, oh, yeah, good point. I see how you feel. My son DJ feels the same way. We talked about the Dallas Cowboys. That will be the second game on Thursday. But the nightcap is the New England Patriots traveling to Minnesota. New England 6-4. They're starting to figure some things out. Their running game has been a major part of their success as well. That defense played so well last week that Zach Wilson has now been benched in New York in favor of former Dallas Cowboy Mike White, who was on the Dallas Cowboys for a little bit on the practice squad, and then also he dressed out a couple times. What are your thoughts on that game as you look at can Minnesota, who I believe will bounce back, even though the New England Patriots are starting to play a little bit better on defense? They're 6-4, but Minnesota, they got embarrassed last week. They got totally embarrassed last week.
So let's put it this way. The Patriots should not have won last week. The Jets gave that game away.
Very true.
The Patriots should not have won last week. So they should be 5-5.
Yep.
But
they're not.
There's one big problem with this game. Kirk Cousins disappeared last week.
Prime time.
And he's coming into prime time this week?
Prime time.
This is not a bounce back game for Kirk Cousins. I take the under. Take the under by, I don't know if the under's 10, but you take the under.
Right.
But yeah, this is, I mean, the Vikings just have to play good defense. The Patriots' offense has been garbage. Run the ball with Dalvin Cook. You're going to be able to get some points on the board. I mean, even if Kirk Cousins not playing well, I think you'll be able to get a little. And just as long as you don't let the special teams and defense score,
right.
This Patriots' offense has looked pretty bad all season.
Yeah, it has been one of those situations where you're like, who is this? But remember, they don't have an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Matt Patricia was not the answer.
And whatever made you think he would be. You know, that's the whole thing. You start looking at it. Oh, by the way, the line is Minnesota minus 2.5, the over-under, Patrick? Yeah. 42.5.
Yeah, under that all day long.
All
Like,
day.
I get they think Justin Jefferson's going to have a big bounce-back game and go to him. It's just Kirk Cousins in prime time. Man, he's like, oh, you know what? Maybe, though.
Maybe.
You know what he's hoping for? He's like, everyone get a second serving of turkey. It don't count in prime time if everyone's asleep.
If everybody don't get a chance to see it, right?
If everyone's asleep.
They can watch it in the morning time. Yeah, that would be a good point right there. And I sit there and I look at this team and I'm like, man, I was not expecting them to get beat by the Cowboys. I thought the Cowboys were going to win. I thought it was
not that bad. Yeah.
Not in that fashion.
I mean, how many times in the NFL this season do you see a nationally a big game like that flipped away from in the third quarter?
Yes, they go to somebody else unless you were in this
Not in the
area.
fourth quarter. The third quarter.
Yeah, that was something to definitely look at. Since we were talking about Zach Wilson and him being out and they bringing in Mike White, yesterday we talked a little bit about this. Sam Darnold will now be the starting quarterback. That means Baker Mayfield has now been passed over again after being passed over by P.J. Walker in his time. What do you think Sam Darnold is going to bring to the table?
I mean, they're playing the Broncos, man.
My gosh.
They're playing the Broncos. This is a matchup so there's basically the Texans have one win. I think there's 6 or 7 teams with 3 wins right now.
And the Broncos and of Carolina.
I don't think either team really wants to win this game.
Jacksonville has 3. Chicago has 3. So along with my Chargers has 3. And so does the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game, and some of these other games, they've been able to load the box. Denver hasn't been playing well. And I mean, their defense is still okay, but they've had so many injuries. Just run D'Onta Foreman.
No doubt.
Run D'Onta Foreman. Don't let Darnold come back and take a couple shots. Throw it to DJ Moore so he's not the saddest person on the planet. But
he seems to be that person.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Raiders beat the Broncos, man.
Yeah.
They're a bad team.
The Raiders beat the Broncos. Matter of fact, they beat them so bad, they had Russell Wilson calling out audibles from Seattle. He was calling audibles that he called at Seattle and was expecting the players to make the adjustments. That's how bad it's been in Denver this year.
He's unlimited by the playbook.
Yeah, I'm unlimited.
There's no limits to this playbook, y'all.
You need to study what I'm studying. Also, I want to bring this up, too.
Oh, by the way, take the under in that game. I don't know what that. Take the under.
Take the under in that game as well. Here's something else that I wanted to bring up. Earlier in the week, or right after the game last week, everybody kept asking about Davis Mills. We were even talking about him a little bit yesterday. Lovey seemed pretty adamant that they were not going to make a quarterback change. Well, lo and behold, the quarterback change has happened. Kyle Allen will now be the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. So my question is to you, and I know Rod would say this would be great. He would be clapping, because does this signify the truth of the word tanking?
But they were tanking with Davis Mills or without. You're tanking. I mean, you're playing the Dolphins this week.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good look for you.
13.5-point dogs
In the NFL.
and that's just because they're trying to not make it embarrassing for you.
Right.
This game could be worse than the Vikings-Cowboys games last week, and it
Ooh.
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, this is a big game.
Mike McDaniel is just going to have a field day running around there, doing whatever he wants. I mean, you hope that you put in Kyle Allen and they don't have tape, so you get a couple points on the board so you can look a little bit nicer.
But he's played before. They got some tape on him. He's played in the NFL.
No, but he hasn't
before.
played he hasn't really started for the
Yeah.
Texans. You don't know what he's going to do
Right.
in that game. So maybe you can go, maybe we can get 14 on him because they're going to put up 40 on us.
Very much so.
Because our defense has not looked good at all in Houston. If the Texans can't play defense, then, man, what are you going to do with that offense?
Right.
Everything churning, everything they want, it's just going to be
It's a bad look.
It's a bad look. Hey,
all
man,
the way around.
that's one. If it's a good thing it's in Miami.
Yeah.
Let's play it that way. Be a sad game after Thanksgiving to roll out there on Sunday with the family and just be like, hey, y'all want to see us get beats?
Right. That'll be another one of those looks. And as we sit here today, it looks like the Rams have ruled out Matthew Stafford for Sunday's game versus the Chiefs. That means Bryce Perkins is in line to start. Also, it looks like Justin Fields will not be playing this week as the Bears get ready to play the New York Jets. So we're going to have two backups going in the Jets-Bears game. Is this the time of the year where you start looking, as you just said, there's a bunch of teams with 3 wins. Is this the time that we start to see a lot of these teams that are out of it, no chance, start to give some of these backup quarterbacks a look? Or, I mean, two of these are just because of injury.
Yeah.
But you start looking at the NFL, teams that don't have quarterbacks, teams that may be trying to position themselves for a franchise quarterback.
No, I think, especially if you're looking at a Justin Fields, I get that in the sense of like, man, he's clearly hurt.
Yep.
And we don't need to hurt him anymore to be an okay team and get better, like a worse draft pick to hurt him more. Let's go ahead and rest him. We can bring him back a little bit later in the season if he's actually healthy and have him play some. But we know what we got now.
Yep.
We feel good about him. We feel good enough that we don't want to leave him out there to get killed.
Correct. This is the ironic thing. You know, the NFL always tries to set up after Thanksgiving because, you know, the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving and they've got some other teams that are the highlight of Thanksgiving. So that weekend they try to get us some primetime games that people really want to tune in for because the whole weekend has gone by and people are probably trying to take naps. So listen to these primetime games starting at 3 o'clock on Sunday. 3:05, the 5-5 Los Angeles Chargers take on the 4-7 Arizona Cardinals, and it looks like Kyler Murray is saying that he may start this week. The other 3:05 game, the Las Vegas Raiders 3-7 versus the Seattle Seahawks 6-4. That one, still there's some star power in there, but it's not a game that they are looking at their schedule saying, I'm glad we scheduled this game.
No one says Geno Smith versus Derek Carr.
None of that.
There's dollar signs in my eyes.
So then we also have that 3:25, the Rams, who now has their quarterback out, Matthew Stafford, who was going to be going up against Patrick Mahomes.
No, this one made sense originally.
Right.
This one makes sense of Super Bowl champs versus former Super Bowl champs.
Yes.
Great matchup. I'm not mad at them for booking this one, but this is
Now it's
just
gone from
unfortunate because the Rams have been hurt.
8-2 versus 3-7 once again. Then you look at 3:25, you got the New Orleans Saints versus that juggernaut that's getting healthy in the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the Saints could be a playoff team.
Oh yeah,
anyone in that division
they
could
still
be
got
a playoff
They still
team.
have a chance. You're
I mean,
right.
we know the Panthers are basically bowing out, so they're out.
Yep.
But the Falcons are a 5-win team. The Buccaneers are a 5-win team.
Yeah. So they're
these-
still around. They're
They're
still
all
hanging
still
around.
in it.
Yeah.
And that's when you look at this, like the Buccaneers play the Browns in one of the last games before Deshaun Watson gets to come back. So we get to see if they can get another win on their record. The Falcons play the Commanders. They
Yep.
should be able to get a win there.
Yeah, buddy.
But you got Heineke.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's actually
I
some
like that.
interesting matchups
There
for
is.
playoff implications because that NFC South is bad. You get some games where you're like, oh, these could actually matter.
This could mean something. But let me tell you about this. Do you believe that this Green Bay versus the Philadelphia Eagles game is a nice Sunday night way to finish off the long weekend?
I mean, I'm okay. I'll be at the Rail House in Kyle, man. They got some TVs out there. I'll be able to look up and see Eagles up by 25 at halftime.
You know what?
I was like,
It's
they're
hard
going
to-
to run the ball. They're going to
Yeah.
run the ball
Yeah.
on the Eagles.
Yeah.
We saw the Eagles brought in Sue to kind of try and help out with that. But yeah, I just don't see in Philadelphia Aaron Rodgers being able to,
no.
make it work enough that they're going to be
Cowboy
able to.
fans would love it, though. Cowboy fans, if they handle business
yeah.
on Thursday and then Green Bay can go into Philadelphia and beat the
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles, that puts things in a different light. So it'll be interesting to see that. And then, of course, the Monday Night Football game, we have two historical matchups. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 3-7, taking on the Indianapolis Colts, 4-6. Jeff Saturday versus Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin been coaching since 1936. Jeff Saturday been coaching since 3:30.
Yeah, this is something that, oh, man, I don't know if the NFL schedule makers are really salivating over these games. I think it's interesting to me.
You got to flex some of these games out,
That's
man.
what I'm saying. That's what I was looking at. I'm like, well, who would you take? What would be the game from Sunday afternoon that you would want to flex to a Sunday night? There's not really much
Maybe
there.
Bengals Titans?
That would be the only one.
Yeah.
That would be the only one.
Yeah.
Well, I would also look at the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcons because
Yeah,
of the excitement for
But
both
I mean,
of those
Heineke
teams.
versus Mariota is not going to draw you a bunch of dollars either. It's gonna-
That's very true.
I mean, there's not name recognition in that matchup. It's a decent matchup. It is not a name recognition matchup.
I would
As
have to
a
agree with
football
you, sir.
fan, I can watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you are a casual fan and you turn it on and be like, "Did everybody hurt?"
Yeah.
Like, no, those are the starters.
Yeah, this is something that the NFL is looking at, and we've been talking about it for years about how important it is for you to have your franchise quarterbacks involved. And
Yeah.
right now, it doesn't look like, even if you have your franchise quarterback, the pieces around you, seems to be the most injury-filled season that I can remember for a long time. And I'm still trying to figure out why. Like, how is this happening? I know Aaron Rodgers has been complaining. He complains about everything, but he's complaining about the turf and how they need to look into it because we've had so many ACLs
Yeah.
and MCLs that have been strained.
No,
You got all the
turf thing-
concussions
The
and
turf
all this
thing
stuff.
is silly. That needs to be done. You're a $1 billion industry.
Right.
I get that it's hard to have grass. Just have grass. Like when you can say, "Hey, man, it's going to cost you this much." Also, your player could be like, you could lose Cooper Kupp or you could lose Odell Beckham. Like
Yeah.
you could lose a star player and cost yourself 6 games
Right.
because you're too cheap to go get grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the technology to have it now, so everyone should have it. That one's silly. As far as the other stuff, there's always injuries. The fact of, like, if you're a guitar player and you don't play guitar every day, you don't have calluses, your fingers will bleed.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about when you try and protect players, in the long term, it's the right thing to do. In the short term, you're going to get hurt a lot easier
Yeah.
because your body is just not built to take the abuse you take
The financial
because you don't
too.
have the calluses.
Right.
Because you're not allowed to hit in practice every day. All
True.
off season, you're not having contact. And so I think there's guys, the bigger guys, sometimes, like maybe an Aaron Donald or someone else like that, you're like, oh, these guys who maybe train in MMA and maybe do some other
Right.
things that the NFL doesn't know about where there's a lot of contact.
Right.
Their just body is just a little bit more willing to take the abuse. But any quarterback, you're like, man, you're going to take 10 to 15 hits a season
Right.
that could all be season ending. And depending on how tough you're able to be in it,
Yeah.
we saw there was a shot on Colt McCoy that he gets a penalty on, but no, the one that he gets a penalty on where it's a late hit where he got bumped kind of, and you saw his head jerk,
Right.
and you were like, man, that's how many hits this guy's taking. And he's just like, now you get bumped, and you're like, oh god,
Yeah. I can't do this anymore. Yeah, it was rough watching my man Colt get slung around like he was in the Big 12 championship game again, going
Man, I'm
against.
having flashbacks to when he was playing for the Browns.
Exactly, going across the middle and James Harrison knocking him out. Yeah, that was a rough look right there. Well, that's the preview for the weekend. There's a lot of games out there. There's whoever your team may be. I know that we're all struggling. Everybody can't be Cowboy fans or Kansas City Chiefs fans. I know a lot of people don't want to be either one of those fans, but those that are enjoying it. Buffalo Bills fans are having fun, and so are the Minnesota Vikings. But you still have a lot of good football that is left to be played, and there's still some stars out there. And you're right, Patrick, the one game that I'm going to be paying attention to on Sunday is that noon kickoff when Cincinnati travels to Nashville in that matchup right there. Derrick Henry going up against Joe Burrow. Even though they're on both of them play offense, they're going to both have to match
both
up.
Both these teams could go deep in the playoffs. We know the Bengals did it last year.
For sure.
The Titans, of course, look really good again this year. So
Always good, man. So it's going to be some fun to watch. When we come back, we're going to have some information from Coach Beard's presser today. We had a lot to talk about, but I want you to hear how in-depth this guy goes when we're talking about the food for Thanksgiving and what his plate is going to look like. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, right here on 104.9 The Horn. Man, 512 edition of Ball Don't Lie. Patrick, tell me who this is right here.
This is the ADH Project, AD Hernandez, who we're throwing the benefit for on Sunday this week. This is his band that he's been playing with, ADH Project. So their ADH Project, the Heebie-Jeebies are going to play. He's got some guests stepping in to fill in and do some stuff. He may hop up on stage depending on how he's allowed, what the doctors allow him to do.
Right.
But they're going to have some people stepping in. He's got some other singers with him and stuff like that. But, yeah, this will be a part of it happening this Sunday at the Rail House from 3 p.m. till about 10 p.m., I believe.
Awesome.
It's going to be a really fun show out there. And as we just discussed, there's not much good football on. They got TVs out at the Rail House, too, so you can watch the game out there. But, yeah, you're not missing much.
Patrick, this sounds a lot like John Legend a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot like it. I said a lot like a little bit, but no, a lot.
Yeah, they're really good.
Wow.
They got the drummer, Mio Soul, he's amazing. He sings backup vocals. Curtis Lee sings vocals on this. So they got crazy harmonies across everything. It's just it's a really good band.
All right, man, this is great stuff right there. Keep it up, man. 512. That's why you listen. Patrick always posts where you can see these guys or listen to and who we are listening to every week. So this is outstanding stuff right there. Don't forget tonight after the show, we got Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark and Craig Way. We got a special edition of the World Cup edition of Soccer Matters with Glenn Davis, powered by Despot Law Firm. At 9 o'clock, you get the Longhorn Blitz with Jeff Howe, Rob Babers, and Matt Butler. And at 10 o'clock, you get Sports Guys Talking Wrestling with Stu Myrick and Justin Simmons, as always. And don't forget, this Friday, we will be at Bevo Boulevard starting at 7 o'clock. Me, Aaron Hogan, and Rob Babers live from Bevo Boulevard outside of Gate 2, in between Gate 2 and Gate 3. Bevo Boulevard opens at 8 o'clock, so make sure you make your way down there. 8 a.m., Bevo Parade, where fans can line up and get a chance to see the players as they walk in. 8:30, the players get to walk through. Pre-game show, Longhorn City Limits, 9:30. Django Walker going to be out there kicking it, and Asleep at the Wheel will perform after the game. So make sure you go there. And if you need a little bit more information, go to hornfm.com for all the details. Patrick, you and I I was part of Chris Beard's press conference today. A lot of great stuff, and this guy's detail is unbelievable. I see why he is the coach that he is and how intense he is, because his attention to detail is so amazing. But I got a chance to ask him, and then we'll get into his Thanksgiving plate. But I got a chance to ask him today about the 3 guards that he has and how important of a role that they will play. But then I also followed up with the question about Brock Cunningham. We know that Coach Sark has talked about what Roschon Johnson means to the University of Texas and how he wants everybody to be more like a Rojo, which is very, very fair. But I thought it was only fair for me to ask Coach Beard about Brock Cunningham and what he thought about him. So I want you to play the first part about the guards, but then follow it up with Brock Cunningham.
Yeah, first of all, with our point guards, really all of our players, we have a team where everybody in our rotation has not only played in the NCAA tournament, but won in the NCAA tournament. Certainly that was the case with Jabari Rice at New Mexico State and Tyrese Hunter at Iowa State. So that's not by accident. One of the things that we look at in recruiting, obviously it starts with talent, but we get pretty quickly to winning. DNA, have they been coached? Do they impact winning? Do they know what winning feels like? Can they be a part of winning? So a lot of that is by design. Obviously, we've been fortunate to have some guys that experienced success not only in the regular season but in the NCAA tournament. But that is a part of our plan, a part of our design. It's easy to talk about, especially in November, but we'll see how it plays out later in the season. But we do feel like we've got some guys that understand what it takes to win in the NCAA tournament.
That was great stuff.
I think with Brock Cunningham, everything that's written and said is just true. The first thing about Brock is he bleeds burnt orange. He loves the University of Texas. Austin's his hometown. And that's pretty special in coaching when you can coach a guy that it really is playing for what's on the front of the jersey and not the back. And Brock's one of those guys. I know we tried to recruit Brock at my last school, a little bit. It was well known that he was going to come to Texas. This is his school. And there's a few of these stories around the country, and when they happen, they're pretty special. Brock's a guy that really leads our team in a lot of ways. Sometimes he's the vocal leader. Always he's the by example leader. Pound for pound, inch for inch, he's the toughest guy on our team. He'll make those tough plays that a Christian Bishop and a Timmy Allen will make as well consistently. You always know where you stand with Brock Cunningham. He's going to approach practice just like he's going to approach a game. And so he's a special guy. He's a graduate of the University of Texas already. He's in the graduate school getting an advertising degree. To me, Brock's one of those guys that's great about college basketball. It's fun to coach him. I think he'll be in the Hall of Fame one day. I really do. At Texas, I just think he's got to be a part of some more winning teams. But I think if we do our job as a team these next 2 years, I believe Brock Cunningham will be in the Texas Hall of Fame because he impacts winning.
That's a very, very high praise for one.
It's a
Brock
bold
Cunningham.
statement.
That
for
is
a guy.
a huge statement for a guy that comes off the bench, right?
For a guy who comes off the bench, doesn't play big minutes,
Right.
he has his career highs like 7-8 points.
Yeah, and that happened the other
10
night.
points when he had against Gonzaga.
Yeah.
But you saw it. I mean, he
Yep,
spurred a run.
Yep, he did. He did. He's an impactful type of player, and the energy that he brings every single time. And don't forget, he created the jorts section. You know what I'm saying? He had the jorts night for the corral, as Coach Beard has praised these kids so much.
And that's I love. He showed a thing too where it was him jumping in the fountain, and when he brought like all the players out, and he jumped in the fountain. He's like, "You can do this when you graduate."
Right.
Because he's already graduated. He's a graduate student now. But he was showing him. He's like, "This is the fun." Like he's like,
Right.
"I can do whatever I want at this school now because I've already graduated. I'm still going to school, but." He's like, I'm doing all the things right. You should try. So leading off the court as well as leading on the court.
Yeah, I think that's been a big plight for what Coach Beard has been trying to give all of these players. And it is special. And, you know, Rod talks about it all the time, being a lifetime Longhorn and what it means to wear that burnt orange and what you bring to this community, especially growing up in this area. Your dad's a legacy player, and you're being able to come out here and do some of the great things at the university.
Yeah, it's what we always talk about, wanting to play for Texas or at Texas.
Yep.
And, I mean, Brock Cunningham is the example of that, man. It's just – it does everything right for the program, and it's a nice guy off the court as well.
Yeah.
Guy who come by, walk by Craig and Eddie and me every time, fist bumps, and just say, hey, how y'all doing?
Yep.
So, yeah, I hope they're able to win some, not just for him, but for everybody. But, yeah, it'd be great to see him get that respect of really – and remember the story of when Chris Beard came – he said basically like everybody could transfer.
Yep.
I didn't have anybody. So he's like, there's the first picture of me as coach with the team is a picture of me and Brock.
That's right.
Because me and Brock were the only two guys on the team at that time. So
That was
he's
the team
with
picture.
Chris Beard from day one.
Yep.
He gets to be a day one guy.
And Chris Beard loved him before, even when he was at the previous school. Well, let's get into it because we talked about this yesterday about the foods that we like to enjoy during Thanksgiving. And the way that he went into this detail, I want y'all to just sit back and enjoy because there was a two-part of this. There was a question that was asked about his food, and then our man Roger Wallace came back and asked him, well, I got to know what the desserts are. You know, Jeff Jones was the first one to ask him about it, and then he followed it up with another great answer.
This is the most coach answer for Thanksgiving you're ever going to hear.
Yeah, no question. So, you know, being in basketball, my Thanksgivings always involve 30, 40, 50 people because our team eats together. This year will be no different. I think we eat around 130. So the first thing I'm looking for is efficiency. You know, I don't like the Thanksgiving where I have to wait in one line. We let players go first. You know, women go first. I'm always the back of the line. So I like the double line. You know, I like the fact that we can go down both sides, and then really, I like the four-way line, you know, where we got the same thing going down one side and the other thing going back. That's efficiency to me. Yeah, I love the cranberry. It's a 1-to-1 ratio to me. Every bite of turkey has one bite of cranberry on it. I was never a stuffing guy until recently because I don't like chives, peppers, or onions. But a couple of years ago, we had a stuffing that didn't have onions in it, so now I'm kind of a stuffing guy. I think the hidden gem, too, of Thanksgiving is the deviled egg. Nobody really thinks about the deviled egg. We all had it, you know, after church at the casserole dinners. But you know, let's bring back the deviled egg. I love the deviled egg. I think drinks, you know, you of course the iced tea and water, but it's basketball season, so I don't apologize for having a little caffeine from time to time. So I do like a soda with my Thanksgiving meal. Also, like a guilt-free environment. I don't want to hear from Chris Ogden or Jabari Rice that I'm eating too much and what my physique looks like compared to theirs. This is Thanksgiving. We don't want any guilt in the environment. We all want to feel good about our decisions. So these are all the things that go into Thanksgiving. Also, like a really good prayer, as we all do, but I like an efficient prayer. I mean, because again, we got 40 people waiting. The food is ready. We don't have time for the Catholic Mass. We need more of a Methodist right to it quickly. And I love all religions. We have all types of faith on our team. So I really like this year. Our pastor, Randy, does a great job. And I think Randy always fills off the environment. There are some times where Randy's preaching at us or with us in the prayer. No problem. Love that. But on Thanksgiving, it's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for in and out quickly so we can get to the food.
That is solid stuff. That is solid stuff.
That is the most meticulous breakdown that I have seen. And like you said, that is definitely a coach that understands time and effort that is out there, man. He says, I need multiple lines so we
I
can
need multiple lines. I need the prayer to be done right. We need to do this.
But then he was asked, they said, well, we can't let this go. We need to understand what is it like for you and your dessert. What does your dessert plate look like after you've already went through all that food?
Yeah, never been a big pumpkin pie guy. I think sometimes they can kind of disguise it and put a bunch of whipped cream on it where you really can't tell it's pumpkin pie. It's kind of like here in Central Texas when you go hunting with guys. I'm not a big hunter, but you go hunting with guys and they take the piece of dove and they wrap it in 3 pieces of cheese and 3 jalapenos, and they say, man, doesn't that dove taste good? I mean, cardboard would taste good if you had that much cheese and jalapeno. Experience that in West Texas too. Same thing with hunters here in Central Texas. So must be a hunting thing. So back to pumpkin pie. I'm not a huge fan, but I guess if you're going to put a bunch of whipped cream on it, I can take a bite. What I really like is pecan pie. But I want the gooey stuff in there in the middle. I don't want the fresh pecan pie. And then I got to have ice cream on the pecan pie. And we're looking for the same ratio, 1-to-1. And I really don't want to hear what John Riley thinks about my decision. So this is Thanksgiving. Leave me alone. Let me eat what I want. That's kind of the philosophy behind our Thanksgivings.
Oh, that's so good.
That is so good. John Riley, for those that don't know, he's the strength and conditioning coach for the basketball team, and he doesn't want him judging him. This is a judgment-free zone.
A judgment-free zone
during Thanksgiving.
I love that. You're disguising it. You're disguising
it by wrapping all this stuff around it. Cardboard would taste good with that being on it. Man, that is outstanding. He gets it. You know what I'm saying? He's a coach that gets it. And
he gets the little things, lead to the big things.
Leads to the big things, and he's been that way throughout his career. So kudos to him, and they got a big game. He wants everybody to be at Gregory Gym. There's tickets still available. They still have some sit back. They're saving them for the corral, but there are some. He wants it to be sold out. Make sure you go online, go to TexasSports.com, and you can find out more information. We'll be back and let you know what's on tap as we get ready to close out for the last show for the week right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. We'll let you know what's on tap tonight, but before we get out of here, I want to make sure that we let everybody know what's going to be going on for the rest of the night and heading into tomorrow, going into the weekend. Tonight, a bunch of shows are going to be following us. We got Longhorn Weekly with Coach Sark with Craig Way starting at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, we have a special World Cup edition of Soccer Matters with Glenn Davis, powered by Despot Law Firm. At 9 o'clock, we got the Longhorn Blitz, Jeff Howe, Rod Babers, and Matt Butler. And at 10 o'clock, we have Sports Guys talking wrestling with Stu Myrick and Justin Simmons. Also, tomorrow, the Dallas Cowboys take on the New York Giants. You can hear all of that right here on 104.9. Pre-game starts at 2:30. Kickoff is at 3:35. And, of course, the Bud Light pregame show on From Bevo Boulevard starts at 7 o'clock. Myself, Rod Babers, and, of course, E. Hogan will be at Bevo Boulevard. So much will be going on. It will also be Senior Day. Make sure you're doing all of that right here on 104.9 and across the ARN network.
Hey, Lake Travis Friday night on the Horn, and on AM 1260, it'll be Vandergrift on Friday night as well.
We got everything. We got you covered. Patrick, what you got going on tonight?
Hey, man, get ready for Thanksgiving.
That's right. I want to
happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I want to thank Patrick for all that he does. Bucky Gabo, my man Kyle Yeomans, Michael Kane, Dripping Springs volleyball head coach, state champion 6A, and of course your boy Hardball Hard. Thanks to Rob Babers as well. Just remember this: don't believe everything you see, because even salt looks like sugar. Peace.